Did y'all know you can reach YouTube and see what's going on with the cameras here in this training room?
I have watched
You go to
team meetings on that.
If you go to youtube.com and do a search at YouTube, not a Google search, but YouTube search for KW perimeter. KW perimeter. There we are. There we are live right now. So here's our channel.
Wow, look at that bald spot on my head.
I'm not going to keep it on the camera. I'm going to keep it on the desktop today, so it'll change. But what's nice about this is if you subscribe to the channel, I'm logged in, so there's not a subscription button. I'm logged in as the owner right now, but normally there's a subscription button right here. And what's nice is if you subscribe, then you get notified anytime the cameras are rolling. So when they do a team meeting or they do a training class, it's pretty nice. If you miss the content or want to get a refresher, they collect those videos at YouTube. So it's a nice little feature. Sometimes I'm driving down the road and my phone chirps up because I've subscribed to all the market centers and it says, Peachtree Road is live. You want to watch? And I'll hit yes and listen to the team meeting while I'm sitting in traffic or something. It's kind of nice, you know. So today's class will be on YouTube as well, so you can go back and look at it. Hey, come on in. Let me get these lights here and we'll jump in. How's that? Can y'all see the board okay?
Yes.
I'm going to leave the blinds open. I think that's readable. If y'all want me to change that, let me know. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am Scott Hardy. I'm the Director of Technology for the Rawls Group. And the way I fit in is I focus my time on a daily basis, really with a laundry list of IT needs for all 6 of the Rawls Group offices, managing their servers and networks and computers. I have a team of guys that I work with. Most of them are contractors that are working out of the cloud and do a lot of remote support for me. But we keep the systems running, keep the machine rolling, if you will. But I also spend a big portion of my time in a consulting and a training role. Hey, good to see you.
And I have one more coming in.
Wonderful, come on in.
Let's go.
And I focus on KW products as well. So and that would be our marketing pieces and our KW websites. And of course, that's what's brought us here today is our Placester website. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is setting up your agent website by Placester. And the idea is that you spend your time with me today and leave here with your site set up and operating with an understanding of how it works and a higher level of comfort, so you can actually control the settings and make changes to the website so you can run it. So before we get into Placester, though, I want to share this web page with you right here that I have up. This is my department website. It's an external site. You're not going to find it anywhere in KW. The address is www.rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. And the reason I like to show this is because it's really a great way to get my attention, or to get my team's attention. There's a couple things I'll show you right off the bat, and that's at rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. Our most popular button are these 2 buttons right here. Everybody hits these: creating help desk tickets and booking remote tech sessions. If you click on create a help desk ticket, it's a simple process of filling out a form. You probably created a help desk ticket at some point in your career. I think it does. I was going to leave it open, but I like it better closed now. Thank you. It's a simple process of filling out the form. Good to see you. And getting your contact information in there. We ask you a couple qualifying questions. How would you rank the problem? How severe is it? How many people is it affecting? Things like that. Basically, you get down the bottom here, prove you're not a robot, and then hit submit. And what happens is this becomes a new ticket and it goes into a queue that we answer. But here's the thing, we don't answer tickets in the order we get them. We rank every ticket in terms of severity. So we answer and work on tickets based on the severity, how many people are being impacted. So if Michael opens up a ticket saying he can't print to his favorite printer right outside the office, we're going to take that as a ticket and say, okay, print elsewhere until we can get you solved. Right? But then if Paige comes up and says, hey, I got to open up a ticket because nobody can print to any printers anywhere, and the natives are restless. Everybody's circling around the workroom and upset because nobody can print. Obviously I got to deal with the bigger issue first. And people get that. That's basic, help desk logic. But the question remains, when am I going to get Michael's one little printer working, right? And so we started thinking about that, and we said, it would be cool. What if we did this as well as an option, which is booking a remote tech session? And this is a super popular item here on our website. If you click through book a remote tech session, you get the option of booking with Tyler or with me. I'm Scott Hardy. Tyler is one of my contract techs. I definitely have him hidden away in a cloud where nobody can find him. He's chained to a desk all day long, watching our help desk in the queue and answering the phones. He works on primarily infrastructure, so things like you have trouble with the Wi-Fi, you need the printers installed on your computer, the internet's slow today, those sorts of things. And then I do that as well as anything else. But if you book on my schedule right here, Scott Hardy, you can see my calendar will come up, just like Tyler's would. And I stay pretty busy. At the end of the week especially, you can pretty much guarantee I'll be filled up. But if I move forward, here we go. The green squares are what I have open and available. And if you pick one, like this 2 p.m. on Tuesday, you get another little form to fill out. Simple, contact information. You can choose between a 30-minute or a 1-hour tech session, assuming there's a 30-minute block available after this appointment. And when you confirm the booking down here, now you know exactly where or when, and what date and time I'm going to be calling you, which was something that we wanted to solve because, it's frustrating when you open up a ticket and you're wondering, is it going to be a day? Is it going to be 5 days? What's the deal before I hear from the tech? And people have complimented us saying, this is great because now I got it on my schedule. You get a little email, it confirms the appointment, you click on a button, it adds it to your calendar, it gives you a reminder the day before. It's pretty cool. We can solve most issues and consult on most things through the remote tech session. What's nice about it is you can be anywhere for this session as long as you have internet. You can be at home, you can be here at the office, you can be at Starbucks. A lot of times, Chris and I were talking, a lot of times I'm in my truck with a hotspot parked behind a Kroger between 2 Keller Williams offices, doing appointments or so. I'll be driving down the road looking at my calendar going, oh, I got an appointment in 5 minutes. And I'll pull over and get on my hotspot. Doesn't cost you anything for the appointment. There's not a limit to the number of appointments. Although if you do fill my calendar up, which every once in a while somebody will do that, I'll contact you and we'll spread them out, make it fair for everybody. But a couple reasons why I like to show this particular service. One, I think the face value of what it is, I think is great. It's a great way to get a hold of us and get your computer needs met. But second, as we get into the Placester content today, there's only going to be so much time we have for certain topics, and there's going to be questions that may get asked or topics that I'm going to stop and go, that's as far as we're going on this now. If you want to take it deeper to another level or you ask a question that's really more appropriate on a one-on-one response, I may say, hey, that's a great example of booking an appointment with me, get on my calendar, and now you know what I'm talking about. Go to Rawls Group Help Desk, punch the button, get on my calendar, and then we can knock it out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In addition to booking time with me and creating help desk tickets, I also have my training calendar available. Up here you can see when and where I'm teaching classes. So of course here we are today teaching Atlanta Perimeter, the website class. Looks like they have me at Cityside doing website class on Monday, June 3rd. And no training on these days. I'll be doing some things. And then I'll be back out here at Perimeter doing, I need to update the title. This is going to be an open forum on June, 13th? So you can always see where and when I'm training. And most of these are going to be Rawls Group locations. You're welcome to show up and join at these locations if you want to. A lot of times people are surprised to find out that today's class is as long as it is. It actually goes today from 1 till 4 o'clock. And then after that, I've budgeted time to just hang out and go desk side. If you're working on your website at the end of class, I'll hang out for up till 5 o'clock and help you with anything we've talked about today or even something we didn't talk about today. And so sometimes people realize, wow, that's all afternoon. I don't have that kind of time. I was only going to be here at 2:30. And what I'll tell you is if you left here at 2:30 today and then showed up at the next class for Placester website at 2:30 in the future, you're going to find you're going to pick up right where we left off. Usually I stay on script and keep everything pretty consistent. So you're welcome to either repeat the whole thing or come and check out something you might have missed. If traveling is not your thing, on our main page, below these 2 buttons, I also have 2 popular videos. One of them right here, Placester website setup training video. And if you click through here, this is everything and actually even more that we're going to have time to cover today, but it does cover everything in today's class. And it's just a run through the content that we're going through today. So you can actually watch this video from start to finish. It takes about 3 hours to watch the whole thing. And people have told me they've watched this video and gotten their site set up completely on their own at 3 in the mornings when they have time to work on this, and that's what they like. It's on demand. One thing I was proud about is I came up with a table of contents of just a series of links that are relative to certain topics. So maybe you heard everything today, but you got home and you're thinking, now what did he say about building a menu? How did that work again? Well, if you want a refresher on that one topic, click on it. It'll cue the video right to that particular point when I talk about how to build a menu. And there I am talking. This video is about 2.5 years old. Some of the layout may be a little bit different than the current Placester. The concepts are absolutely the same. I was toying with the idea of updating this video, and I waited till family reunion to find out kind of what was happening with all the products. Sounds like Placer's going to be around for a while, so I'm actually motivated to revamp this video with the current layouts. But it'll definitely get the job done if you want to get that on-demand access. It's just right there at rawlsgrouphelp.com. So those are a couple of resources off the bat I want to show you. We'll come back to this website throughout the day as we pull different components for our website. Any questions? Awesome. Pretty straightforward stuff there. Let's switch gears for a minute. This is a Placester website. This is my Placester website. And what I've done here is I've mocked up a Placester site. I'm not a salesperson. I do tech 100%, that's it. And so they gave me a demo account and said, knock yourself out. And I said, okay, well, let me set up a Placester website for the purposes of training. And in this particular case, what I've done is I've embraced a fictitious business of selling cabins, because I love cabins. I was like, what would I be if I was a realtor? Broke, because I would not be a very good realtor. No, I'm just kidding. But that's kind of funny, isn't it? But anyway, I thought, I would sell. Maybe I should say, what would I sell if I was a realtor? Cabins, maybe. So I set this thing up, and the idea is I'm going to run us through this and point out some things at a high level, focusing on things that we're going to be touching today. So you get an idea, a point of reference right off the bat of what we're going to be working on and some of the things we'll be configuring. Before I did the cabins, it used to be I had a site, well, before Placester really, back when we were teaching e-edge and the agency, I had a treehouse concept where I was the treehousefinder.com was my website, and I had all these fancy tree houses, and people would actually call me on that site wanting to rent or buy tree houses. It's crazy how effective they were, because they would get into Google circulation and people would find the site and say, hey, you're selling tree houses in Atlanta? I was like, wow, maybe I should. I don't know. Really, it's kind of funny. But I changed it. I shut down the Treehouse Finder site, and we'll go into why I shut that down later. It's a little story I'll share with you. And I rebuilt the whole thing as cabins. So this is one of 9 different templates that are available. It's the Madison template, and today you'll learn how to change templates around and figure out different layouts. And right off the bat, at the very top, I would focus on the address for this. The web address up here for this website, you can see it is www.affordablegeorgiacabins.com. Do you think Keller Williams gave me that address? No, that's not the original address. That's a GoDaddy domain. I went to GoDaddy and registered that domain. When you first launch the website, it comes up with a web address more like, I think my original one was shardy1.kw.com. And I've seen some others that are like just a number.kw.com. They're functional, and that's how KW rolls the product out to new agents, but they're not very marketable, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the first things I'd point out is you can register your own domain through GoDaddy or any register that you like, and you can associate it with the website so that you can improve on the branding and gain control of the web address. There's a couple reasons why that's important. One, if you don't brand the domain name, if you use the KW domain, that belongs to KW, and that's fine and all until they decide to make a change. Imagine this, what if you spent a year marketing your web address on your business cards and refrigerator magnets and calendars or whatever, and you used shardy1.kw.com. It would function. But what if KW were to come up next year and say, guess what, everybody, we're getting new websites, and you're all going to get a brand new web address, all right? And we're going to shut down your old ones next week. They probably wouldn't do it that way, but just imagine if that happened. It's totally out of your control, right? And so all of your branding and all your effort would be foiled if overnight all your magnets and marketing materials had a wrong or an invalid web address, right? So the idea is you go to somebody like GoDaddy, and for $15 to $20 a year, it's very inexpensive. Who's got their phone on? Me. Goodness. We can stop that for a minute. Excuse me about that. Let me get this on mute. So you can see where by going to GoDaddy and spending,
AffordableTreehouses.com.
I know,
Scott
right?
Speaking.
Mike, will you take this call for me? Let's get that. There we go. It's funny, I kept trying to push the button and calls kept coming in. So anyway, you go to GoDaddy and spend $15 to $20 a year and get a domain that's flexible. You can, move with the changes. You never know. You might decide a place to work for you for a year or two, and then maybe you want to do something different. And if you've owned the domain, you can swing that domain name you own to the next product that catches your eye. So it gives you flexibility. We're not going to get into domain configuration today. I've tried that in the past with a room full of folks, and it's kind of a train wreck. It's a sensitive area, and I found that a one-on-one approach usually is pretty good. So if you have a domain, you want to get it connected today after class or a break, I'd be happy to connect it for you, or that would be a good example of getting on my calendar and say, hey, I do have a domain name I want to hook up to my Placester site. I can do it for you really pretty quickly. And if you want help trying to come up with a domain name, that would be a great example of getting on my calendar, and I can run you through some ideas for some custom domains. So the point is, yes, they do give you an initial raw address, but I encourage you to register a domain and then connect it to your website so you have something that's a little more functional. We'll also spend time then working on this header area, all this up here, this banner. We'll get control over everything you see here in terms of our social media icons and badges. Right now, if you click on Facebook, mine goes to, right now, it goes to the corporate KW Facebook page. Actually, all of my social media do. And we'll talk about that when we get to that section, why I've set mine up that way. The point is that you can connect your social media profiles, there we go, to these icons as well. We'll learn how to gain control of that, whether you want to also point your icons to the KW social media, or if you want to point them to your profiles, you'll learn how to get control over that. We'll get control over these areas right here, where our branding, where we have, this is a title of our website, and then a catchphrase for our tagline, if you will. We'll gain control over these areas here, as well as putting in a GREC compliant broker logo. Obviously, we're not at Cityside today. For whatever reason, the day I made this page, I put in Cityside's logo. I had to choose one. But today we'll get control over this region, and we'll add a Atlanta perimeter logo so that you're in compliance. We'll talk about the compliance aspects of the website as well. Also, reinforcing your contact information and your identity. If you have a photo that's ready today, we'll go ahead and get your photo in and then get your contact information placed into the banner. Also, another part of the banner is the menu, where you've got this navigational menu here. So the system will start you out with some buttons, and you'll learn today how to edit those in terms of relabeling them, reorganizing them, adding and removing buttons. We'll show you how to take if there's an existing button you don't care for, you can take it out. And then we will actually put in some new buttons today. An example will be, here's one we'll add, free mobile download. If you click on this, you'll land on this page here, which is a download source for my mobile property search app. Anybody got the KW mobile app on your phone already? It's a great tool, really a very well done tool by KW. And I think it's a valuable tool to have, and I think one of the most common questions I get about the tool is, how can I share my app with somebody else? And so it occurred to me one day, I was like, you know what, I should show people how to add the button to their website, because that way you go tell people, well, go to affordablegeorgiacabins.com and click on the button that says download mobile app, or whatever you decide to make the name of that button, and boom, there they go, they download your app. So we'll spend some time talking about how that works and making sure that we get yours functional on your website today. Free mobile app, and then we'll also add a video update button. This is just a little bit further experience of adding content, where we have a regularly updated video. This month of real estate, it updates each month. Should say May. There we go. Great. And I guess it's going to change here shortly, because now we're in June. And what's nice about the link that I'm going to give you on this button is it does automatically update the video each month. There's two versions. One, a manual update, where you have to go and scrub the link and update it, put a new link in, which is a chore, or the automatically updating link, and that's the one we're going to use today. So we'll get control over this menu item here, over these different menus. Right here in the middle, you have, of course, this property search, where it says for sale and rent, and it's asking for either a city, zip, or neighborhood and address. You probably can figure out how this works, right? You put in the criteria and you hit search, and They're going to see inventory is going to come up, active listings, hopefully active listings. But what you may not realize is this is an IDX property search tool, and that's an important piece of information, the fact that this is an IDX search. And so I want to make sure we all understand what that means when we say an IDX search. So an IDX search IDX is a technology that allows you as the agent to present a property search for your consumers on your web collateral, like your website, even your mobile property search app that we talked about just a minute ago. That's actually an IDX product as well. And what it does is it allows for a consumer to search against your local database, whether it's FMLS or Georgia MLS or whatever the case is, and look at active listings. But what distinguishes IDX from a non-IDX is the results. When they come on the screen, feature all the public information, the photos, the description, the price, and all that. Everything but one piece of information. There's one piece of the info that gets taken out in an IDX search. That's the listing agent's contact info. The listing agent, right, your competitor's information gets taken out and your information gets put in place. That positions you to be a buyer's agent, which is a great advantage, right? It's awesome to have an IDX product on your website, because now what can happen is if I do a search for a listing, let's say about, what's the zip code in Dunwoody, y'all?
30338, I think.
30338. So if I did a search for 30338 and look at these listings, I think, I'll go for the modern one, right? So there's the IDX results. The photos came, where do you think those came from? Let's see, there you go. You know where they came from, right? FMLS. All this came from FMLS, but if you look over the information, there's no listing agent contact. Now, it may say the broker that provided it right there, courtesy of Weichert. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to have the actual listing agent's contact info. Instead, there's going to be some call to actions. For example, this get in touch, where if the consumer engages on this call to action, fills this out, and they hit submit, then their information that they provided will actually arrive at the email address that I have on file at KW. So whatever my KW email address is in my profile, I'll receive a notification that somebody has filled out a contact form. If they want to pick up the phone and call somebody, the only phone number they're going to see is the number that I place here, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today, about getting your phone number in. So you can see how they strategically put your contact info here to work in conjunction with the IDX frame in there, which is really cool, right? So now I could be driving down the road and somebody calls me and my phone rings and I'm driving down the road and they say, hey, I was just at affordablegeorgiacabins.com and I was looking at this listing on, what is that, Nine Circle in Dunwoody. What can you tell me about it? And I'm going, I don't have a listing in Dunwoody. Well, you train your brain to realize when you get a call like that, that's my IDX is going to work for me. Yeah, and so I'm going to go into a buyer's agent script and talk to them as a buyer. I've actually had somebody call me before in the past and say something's broken with my website because I'm getting calls about listings that aren't even mine. And I was like, this is great. This is what you want to happen. And they just did not understand IDX. And so they were passing the call on to the agent on duty, where they were trying to do the right thing and trying to, I thought, oh my gosh, what a shame. Something else I see sometimes when people don't understand IDX, the value of it, like I said, we're going to learn how to control this menu up here. And sometimes what I'll see is agents will say, well, the Placester search is okay, but I like Realtor.com search, or I like Zillow search. So they'll put a link. I've seen agents that will put a link up here that says search Zillow, or just search listings, and they'll make you go to the Zillow page, not realizing that it's not an IDX search, And that's a horrible proposition for you. I see your head going up and down, you get it, because it's amazing to get traffic to your website, and it's a shame to send them away to another competitive area where they're going to see the listing agent contact info, and they're going to call that listing agent. They're not going to go through the trouble of tracking back. Now, how did I get to the listing? Oh, that's right, I started at Scott's website. Let me call him. So understanding IDX is definitely valuable. I've seen people just kind of gloss over it and not get it. But once you hear it, it's pretty straightforward. It makes a lot of sense, right? So today we'll learn how to get control over this search in terms of which database it's connected to, and we'll make sure that yours is functioning correctly. And then we'll also get control over featured properties. This is also another IDX product on the website. Same principle. The content comes from the MLS database that we connect. The contact information is stripped for the listing agent. Your contact information is put in this place. we'll get control over which listings are showing up here in this area. Now, as I said, I'm on the Madison template. There's about 9 different templates. This particular template features 4 tiles. You see them right there for the featured properties. Different templates handle featured properties differently. There's one out there that one template has, I think, 9 or 12 tiles. There's another one that's got 6. This one happens to have 4. This one happens to be one of the more popular templates, but sometimes people will choose to come off of the Madison simply because they want to get more inventory positioned, and there's nothing you can do. If this is built and programmed to have 4 tiles, then you can't really get more than 4 listings showing up at a time. But that being said, we will get control over what listings are showing up in those 4 tiles, and there's 2 scenarios that we'll go through. One scenario would be if you're an agent with no inventory at all, but you want to get listings that are relative to your geography and your price point, maybe your niche. We'll talk about how to get the right listings showing up. Or maybe you do have inventory. Scenario number 2, you've got an inventory and you want to get your specific listings showing up on the web page. Obviously, you want to do that. We'll talk about that scenario as well. So you gain control over what's showing up in the featured properties.
Are these real properties?
These are, yeah, these are live.
15,000?
Scott, if it's 15,000, where is that?
In Clayton,
In Clayton?
probably is legit.
Is that right? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? I was
That's
gonna say it might be a
what I'm saying.
rental,
Is that
but at 15,000, I bet you they're
Really?
selling it. Man, this
There you
thing.
go with
It does look like a rental though.
What do you want to know about it? No, I'm just kidding.
It's right next to
Yeah.
Dakota.
That
You'll
can't
miss
be
these,
right.
Might be
I know, that's-
rental because it is next to Dakota's comments.
VRBO, it says, weekly
Yeah.
rental.
I was gonna say it's got to be a rental. It does say for sale right here though.
I'm sure they take it on.
Weekly rent VRBO.
At Lake Burke?
Summer rates 5,000 a week.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
You
There's no
can
way
buy it
that's
if it's
right.
only
Oh, that's a
15,000.
Maybe that's a monthly number.
That's gotta be the monthly. Wow.
Okay.
I'll pass.
I was about to say.
I almost had a deal. Moving down the page, there are testimonies and blog components to the webpage. Honestly, we're not going to get into how to write the testimonies and add them in the blog section. I look at that as more of a content topic. Today's goal is to get the website functioning, get it launched, and for the sake of time, I've taken blog and testimonies as a different topic. I will mention that the most common question I get for testimonies is how do they get on your website? And the way they work is you actually have control over what testimonies show up. So if you'd ask somebody to send me an email if you would, if you're happy with my services, that kind of thing. And then you can take that testimony they give, you can edit it and then add it to the testimony area. It's super intuitive, very simple to do. I'll point it out when we get into the back end. If I remember, I'll try to remember to show you that, hey, here's testimonies where you can add them. It's very straightforward. If that's something that was a hot button for you though, and you want more information on it, try to get me after class. I'll be happy to talk about it, or do a one-on-one session with me. And then the same thing with blogs. The blog components, it does have a blog system in there. Obviously, it's up there. And what I'll tell you about it right now is that it's a very basic blog component. Most common question I get about this is people see the content and they say, this is great. So is Placester putting content on my website for me? And the answer is no. They just give you 4 demo blog posts. In fact, they just recently changed the demo. This is an older demo, but up until they changed it, all 190,000 KW agents had the same 4 demo blog posts on their blog. So when you think about the whole idea of blogging as a way to stand out to Google, having the same content as 190,000 people doesn't really help. So one of the things I would tell people about the blog is, first thing I'd do is delete the demos and then and start blogging your own stuff. But here's the other thing about blogging that I think, and I'll move on, but if the reason you're blogging is to improve your site ranking at Google, which is usually why people blog, because it's a known fact that if you can blog consistently, that'll get Google's attention. Then what I'd recommend is not using Placester's blog system. I'd recommend going to something like blogger.com, which is a Google blog product. Because if you want to get Google's attention, to me it makes sense, use a Google product, right? And so you'll understand today how to add links to the menu. So if you're really going to blog, I'd probably just shut down the internal blog, go set up a Google Blogger account, and put a link to my Blogger blog roll up there in the menu. If that makes sense to you and you're like, hey, that's what I need to hear, run with it, great. If not, if you want some more information, again, get on my calendar. We'll spend some time talking about some ideas of reciprocal links and some strategy of using an external blog here. To me, not to beat it up, I would just say it's kind of a glorified document management system. If you're not trying to blog for position, but you just want to collect, articles and write information that looks pretty, it definitely has aesthetic value. I mean, it's gorgeous the way it looks. I just don't necessarily agree with the functionality of it. But I'm not here to beat up on the Placester site. Moving on, we got a little bit more of call to action and lead capture here, some more brand reinforcement. We'll be adding that information in there today. And then as we get down towards the bottom, we complete this landing page with the footer area where we will focus on some compliance issues and make sure that you have compliant contact information. This site here is set up compliant. We'll talk about some challenges with the GREC rules and make sure that you're not exposing yourself to some liabilities. So that we will work on the footer today, as well as getting any kind of designations that you've got. There's a gallery of designations that they offer, and we'll add those to the bottom of the website as well. Another item that's important on this website, but is not as obvious, that I want to mention, is that these sites are mobile responsive. I don't know if you've heard that term or not before, but mobile responsive is really a buzzword in website development today. If you call a web developer, say, I got to build a web page, they're going to want to know, is it going to be mobile responsive or not? And the answer should be yes. Generally, you want to make it mobile responsive. If you're not familiar with mobile responsive, what it means is it's a characteristic of the website that says that the website is universal in terms of what platform you look at it on. Right now, we're looking at it on a desktop. It could be a Mac or a PC, but the website is sophisticated enough to analyze the width and the height of the site and determine, am I on a computer or am I on a tablet or a phone? And right now it's convinced it's on a computer because of the height and the width aspect. But I can trick it if I break it down and shape the window more like a phone. The site is now analyzing the width and the height, and it now has been fooled. It thinks it's on a phone right now. You can imagine that kind of looks like a phone. And look what happened to the web page, right? It's been optimized for a mobile experience where your menu has been condensed, right? I still have everything. It's just been hidden behind this hamburger here, is what they call it. My son taught me that when he was 8. He's like, tap on the hamburger on his tablet, like, a hamburger. I'm looking for a burger, And he's like, the hamburger, and he reached over and tapped it.
That's funny.
I was like, okay, good. So there's my menu. You can see everything is still there. It's just been rebuilt and optimized, my contact information and everything. You can see my backdrop back here is still there. Property search is there. But look what happened to featured properties. It's turned from a row to a column. And the photos are larger too, which is interesting, I thought. It makes sense though for a mobile device, because it's a smaller screen, so get those photos bigger. Isn't that a pretty shot right there? I haven't seen that one. Right, it's all still functioning. Everything is still there. Even the blog has been converted to a column. And then if I widen it out a little bit further, this right here is sort of kind of a tablet layout. The system thinks it's on a tablet. Now look what it's done, turning that one column into dual columns. It's actually reinstated part of my menu, but then part of it's still back here behind the hamburger. And then if I bring it all the way out, boom, you see where it pops out back into desktop mode. And that's super valuable for your website. It's an important aspect to your website to be mobile responsive. For two reasons. One, have you ever been on a web page that's not mobile responsive on your phone? What kind of experience is that, right?
Nightmare.
Pretty lousy. You're pinching and zooming and panning around and trying to tap on links and it doesn't work. Ultimately, what do you end up doing on a website that doesn't function? You bounce out of it, right? You're like, maybe I'll go back to this when I get home. Of course, who knows? You may forget about the website by the time you get home. Ultimately, though, you don't use it, you get off of it, which is the opposite effect of what we want when people get on their website, right? When you get web traffic, you want them to be engaged and just find value and go, oh, let me register on this page and let me bookmark it. Let me come back and use the tools, not be frustrated. Which is a great segue to reason number 2 why mobile responsiveness is important. It comes to Google. If you don't know, Google crawls every page on the internet. It's an incredibly ambitious initiative to catalog the entire internet, but Google effectively does. And it builds a database, of websites. And when a consumer comes along and says, hey, I need to find a car for sale in Atlanta, Google says, oh, I know every website about cars for sale in Atlanta. Here's a list. And they're ordered in terms of relevance. And the idea is if you have a website about cars for sale in Atlanta, you want to be at the top of the list, right? That's how Google works. We already kind of know that, but just a quick overview. So for Google to do that, it has software that crawls every page and analyzes to try and figure out what the page is about. And once it figures out what the page is about, it then scores the page on just a huge list of criteria. One of which is how relevant is the website. If you tell the website, I'm about cars for sale, then it expects to see cars for sale on the website. If you get off on tangents, it says, well, they didn't really stay on topic, they're going to penalize you some, If you turn out to be a very effective website, it's going to rank high. Well, Google's also starting to look for broken websites. If your website doesn't function, Google knows if it serves up broken web pages to its customers, and people say, you know what, half the websites I go to at Google don't even work. That would be tragic for Google's name, right? Their namesake. So they look for broken links. So if you make links to other websites and those websites are no longer there, your link is broken, right? So if you make a lot of links to your web page, you want to make sure they're good and they're working, because if they're not, Google's going to find out. And there's tools you can run on your web page to say, hey, find my broken links, that kind of thing. But Google's looking for malformed code, broken links, incomplete components of the website, and it does a mobile readiness check today. And if your site passes the test, it says, oh, okay, the site's mobile responsive, and it ranks it higher in the ranks. If you fail the check, it'll push your website lower. Isn't that interesting, the way they do that? Because they know more and more people are surfing the web with mobile devices.
That's part of search optimizing.
What's that?
Is that part of
That
search?
is. Yeah, it is part of search engine optimization. So when you're talking about optimizing your website for search engines, it's not just content, but it's functionality. It needs to be functional. And that's the thing that's easy to overlook. I didn't think about that. I was in a class a couple years ago and they mentioned that, and I was like, man, I would have never even thought of the importance of making sure, checking the integrity of its function, but that is an important part of it. So mobile responsive is a big deal, and it's an expensive deal. Before we had Placester, we had our e-Edge and e-Agency products. Those are not mobile responsive. There was a program out to convert our old website. It was $1,500 a pop. Michael, you might remember those days, right? And you had the mobile readiness conversion kit, for our e-Agency sites. And agents were buying them left and right, $1,500. And it's baked into the Placester. So kudos to Placester. They have a powerful IDX and they're mobile responsive. So that's a good deal. All right, so those are the things that we're going to be talking about and working with on the Placester website. Y'all ready to switch gears and talk about yours now? Me too. To get started on your web page, you're going to first need to get logged into this site.
And this is not mobile.
This site here, it actually is. It is mobile, actually. If you go to mykw.kw.com on a mobile phone, you get what's called e-Edge on the go. In terms of its functionality,
But you can't click on my transaction.
right? If you click on my transaction, it just says coming soon. And it said that for a long time. About 6 years now, it said that. Yeah. And then I think they're working on some new products anyway, so it's a mute point. But you can get to this. I've had people in class on an iPad get through the whole class because they just turn it landscape and they're able to navigate all this. I thought that's what you were getting at. So to get started on your Placester site, you got to be logged into this page. Y'all know where I am here? This is mykw.kw.com. It's sort of the hub of your KW experience. If you don't have access to this page, you need to see agent services. So get with Felicia or Ellie or Diane or Stacy, and they will get you sorted out here. And the work we're going to do today is up here. If we scroll to the top of this black horizontal band, you'll find that there is this KW websites, and this is where we want to do our work here. Before I click on that, though, I will mention a lot of times people raise their hand. They say, you know what, every time I log into this page, I get a pop-up that says, your website's ready, and then a button that says click here to continue. If you're getting that pop-up over and over and over again, if you look closely, there's a checkbox in the pop-up that says don't show me this again. You can go ahead and check that and then close the box and you won't see it again, and now you know how to get there. They just put that in for new agents so you can find your website easily. It kind of becomes annoying after a while, though, so You can permanently disable it if you hit the checkbox when it pops up. This is where we're going to be working right here, KW websites. When you click through it, it should take you to this page here, which is the Placester portal, your KW agent website. And hopefully, if you're following along, hopefully yours looks like mine, which says your new website is ready right there in the middle, and I've got a big red button that says go to my website. If you see something different, if it says your website's not quite ready, it's being worked on, or we're working on it, come back later. There's a couple different messages you might see. Anything but what I've got here. Does anybody see that right now? What do you have on yours?
Your Placester website cannot be created at this time due to complete data in Keller Williams white
Okay.
pages.
Yeah, so if you've got that message, what that means is, how long have you been here? More than 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay. If you've been here less than 7 days, it takes 7 days from them to set the account up. So if you've been here more than 7 days and you don't have this button here, what you need to do is take your computer or just go back to the back and talk to Diane or Felicia and let them know that you can't get to your website. You need your MLS ID added to your white pages. And they'll be able to add that real quick. And hopefully within a few moments you'll be able to get in. You can come back and join us, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So for the rest of us that have the red button, go to my website, go ahead and click on it. And that should take you to, it should bring you here to the dashboard for Placester. Sometimes people will tell me, hey, I clicked the red button and my page doesn't look like yours. It doesn't look like this. Instead, I'm at a blue page that says Placester.com. Occasionally that may happen. Sometimes the system doesn't quite piggyback your login and doesn't get you logged in to Placester, and it'll errantly send you over to the front door at Placester.com. Here's what you need to know. With the KW product, with the license we have, you're not able to log in to Placester.com. I get a phone call all the time. People say, man, I cannot log into my website. I'm at Placester.com. I'm putting my username and password in. It just doesn't work that way. The only way you can get in with a KW license is the way I've shown you here, which is kw.com or mykw.kw.com through the technology link and work your way here. And sometimes people say, I am doing that. I'm trying to get to the dashboard. It just doesn't come up. At that point, you may need some tech support. Sometimes it could be as simple as refreshing your browser, meaning deleting cookies and cache and history. And sometimes I've had people delete all that and it still doesn't work. We have to just get on the phone with Placester and say, hey, we can't get into a profile. And I don't know what they do, but there is sometimes something they have to do to fix it. So if you're getting the blue Placester page, don't bang your head against it trying to get in. You've got to log in the way we just did. And if you can't get the page to come up, try a different browser. Maybe try Mozilla Firefox. Chrome is my browser of choice. You don't have to use Chrome. I think it is the better browser to do all this with, though. But if you can't get in temporarily, you might try using Mozilla Firefox or even Safari to get in. But this is where we're going to be doing our work here today. And this is our dashboard. There's a lot of activity on here. What I will tell you to focus on is this section right here that says Quick Actions. Find the Quick Actions. And then look at these couple of first options here. Yours may be exactly like mine. They may be a little bit different. Look and see if you have the words launch site. If you have launch site in this area, go ahead now and click on launch site. If you don't have launch site, if all you see is, like I've got preview and then edit site, if you see edit site, go ahead and click on edit site now. If you clicked on launch site, on the page that comes up when you click on launch site, you should see an option to now edit your site. If you see that, go ahead and click on edit site. Let's see. In mine, I'm going to go ahead and edit site. And between those two sets of instructions, we should have all arrived at a page that looks like this. Did anybody get lost on that? How you doing?
Am I setting up my own account or do I already have it?
You shouldn't have to set up the account.
I shouldn't, because I didn't have a login for it. It said to come to this.
Oh, yeah. So you're at the Placester website. You can't log in at the blue Placester site. You've got to log in through KW. So did you come in through?
I just copied it from there.
Oh, yeah. Come on into my KW.
I'll go into
mykw.kw.com.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I think you were just out of the room when we said that.
I knew I'd walk out right when you're doing that.
So here it is. Just go to mykw.kw.com.
Right.
When you get logged in, it's going to piggyback off your login by going here. Watch.
So then the KW websites.
You're going to go to technology and
Yeah.
KW websites. That'll bring you here.
Okay.
And then hopefully you got a red button that says go to my website. Click on that and it should bring you to this dashboard.
Don't have that little red button.
What does yours say?
Mine says your KW agent website. Oh, your Placester website can't be created due to incomplete data on the Keller Williams white
Okay.
pages.
So
The
what
white
you're-
pages are complete though.
Yeah, what you're gonna need to do, there's one piece that's missing. So what you need to do is walk back and go see Felicia
Okay.
or Diane.
Okay.
Let them know you cannot get to your website and ask them to add your MLS ID to your white pages. They'll know what that means.
Is
Ask
that
them-
not something I can do?
You can't. You have to have a
That happened to
leadership
me
role to
last
do it.
time.
Yeah, so just ask them to add your MLS ID to your to your profile,
Okay.
and hopefully you can come back in and join us.
I'll be right
All
back.
right?
Thank you.
Okay. I never get through a class without at least somebody getting hung up. You know, it just happens. So, but anyway, so hopefully everybody's where I am here now. We've landed here into these control panels where we've got listings, site design. Is anybody not here? Everybody with me? Terrific. This is the heart of the matter. So we're going to be working through these modules here. And how I want to spend our time today is let's work through the listings module. Let me get through all this stuff. Y'all be really good about not asking a bunch of questions. Not that I don't want questions, but they can derail us. So let me suggest this. Let me get through this section. If you have a question, just write it down. And when I get to the end of this, I'll ask for questions. And if I have any answers to yours, then we can get into it. And then once we get through listings, I'll do the same thing for site design. Let me get all the way through site design, and then we'll talk about questions. And then by the time, believe it or not, by the time we get through site design at the end of this, we'll be coming up on 4 o'clock. And at that point, we'll be wrapping up and going into a workshop mode where questions are wide open, you know. But I just want to make sure we cover everything and don't want to get too sidetracked. So if you get lost, raise your hand. Let me know. I'll get you back on track. You know, that's not a question I want you to hold back. I'm just trying not to get off into too many tangents as we get into this topic. Does that work for everybody?
Absolutely.
So, first thing we're going to work on is listings. And we're going to click on IDX integration. We talked about IDX a little bit already today. What we're doing by clicking on IDX integration, we're basically jumping right into this section. We're getting control over this search tool here in terms of how it works. So we're going to click on IDX integration, and these are the options for our consideration. So there's 3 options here. You can see I've got Georgia Multiple Listing Service, First Multiple Listing Service Inc., and then Keller Williams Listing Service. Some people tell me that they get on this panel and what they see by default is something like this. The listing service is already, KW, Keller Williams Listing Service already checked. Have y'all heard of that? KWLS? It's pretty popular. People talk about it from time to time. What is inside KWLS? Keller Williams listings. That's what you're going to see. Are you going to see Remax listings in KWLS? Absolutely not, right? So think about it. If your database, if your property search is tied into KWLS, then when the consumer does a search, they're going to see what? Keller Williams listings, right? So that's not really what consumers want. They want to see everything that's active on the market. So a telltale sign that you or your friend's website is connected to KWLS is if you start seeing listings that are out of your service area, like you start seeing California listings and Texas listings and Florida listings, you know, oh, the only way that's going to work is if I'm connected to KWLS. So if you see that, or if you hear somebody complaining that, man, my featured properties are, Washington State, you're connected to KWLS. You need to get this thing sorted out. So I would recommend we uncheck KWLS. I think in some parts of the country, there may be some extent in the country where they don't have MLS integration, so the best they can do is KWLS. I think that's why this is an option. But for us, we have Georgia MLS and FMLS, and our broker has signed a blanket agreement with these companies so that every new agent has these options already baked in whenever you get to this panel. So now it should boil down to choosing Georgia MLS or FMLS. And here's what you got to consider. If I turn both these on, I could turn both these on, and if I do that, then my property search and my featured properties will pull from both systems, but I'll probably see some duplicates, right? Because usually you have the same inventory in both systems. You should. So in a scenario like this with both of them checked, you may see one physical address with an FMLS number, and then right below it the same physical address and same photos with a Georgia MLS number. And some people don't like the duplicates at all. They say, man, it looks horrible. How do I fix that? Well, you choose one or the other. Choose FMLS or Georgia MLS. flip that coin though, and other people argue, well, what if there's inventory in one database that's not in the other? I don't want to, hazard missing something. So if that's the way you feel about it, then you're going to have to accept the fact that there will be duplicates. You just have to figure out which one of those you like. The advice I've heard is if you are doing business in the Atlanta metro area above 20 and all that sort of stuff, up in the corridors like we are, then FMLS is generally going to be, if you're going to do a single selection, FMLS would be the right answer. If you're doing business at 20 and below, and if you're doing out in the outer areas, then Georgia MLS would be, if you're going to choose one or the other, then you choose Georgia MLS. For most people that come through these doors in this classroom here, FMLS is going to be the right answer. That's how I'm going to set mine up. I'm just going to put FMLS, turn off Georgia MLS, and I'm going to turn off KWLS, leave that one on, and I'm just going to lock this in with a green save button. And now my website should be instantly now connected to FMLS. Super easy. The next topic is global filters, right below it. If I click on global filters, here's the right answer for global filters. For everybody in the room today, I would suggest you go to all listings, it's already the default, and just make sure this sentence right here is checked. Display all MLS listings on my website. Make sure that's checked. If it is, go ahead and save it. Let me show you what global filters is though, just so you know. Don't do this, but I'll just tell you. A common question I get, people call me and they say, hey, my website's not showing listings. And I think what happens is people start noodling around and trying to figure things out on their own. And if I were to go into a global filter and do something like max price, let's say I set this for $250,000. If I were to come down and save this, because it's a global filter here, then what that means is nowhere on my entire website would I ever see anything that contradicts this filter, which is a max price of $250,000. So the call I get is people say, I just listed a $300,000 listing and it won't show up on the website. My customers are angry, or whatever. And when I hear that, I know, let's go check global filters because they probably said something. I think the better way to handle global filters, especially when you're new to your website, is to come over here and say, just show all things that are active in my MLS. And then what happens is now anything that's active is eligible to show up, whether it's a property search or a featured property, and then the consumer can narrow things down to where they want, right? There are some business cases that go into global filters. You can set different filters and say, I just want to show something in a certain neighborhood. Maybe you just want to build a certain city. Maybe you want your website to only show Dunwoody listings. If you had a business case for it, you could go there and do a hard filter like that. But for most people, I'd say, no, that's not the right answer today. So global filters, once you get that set up, we're going to talk about featured listings. Now this is the first area that as we make changes to featured listings, we're going to really be able to see a visual impact on our website. So let me show you this little trick up here at the top right. You've always got this, whoops, I need to launch mine. There we go, I launched it. Notice how I've got two websites. Affordable Georgia Cabins I demoed for you earlier today, and then when nobody was looking, I launched a brand spanking new one with no changes, and this is the one I'm working in right now. I'm actually building this one out so you can see how I put it together. So now if I come over here to view live site, you can always see what your web page looks like. So this isn't going to be Affordable Georgia Cabins. This is the one that's brand new. This is a brand spanking new Placester website. It is the Madison template. And the only thing that's happened to it is I've connected it to FMLS and I've set the global filter. Y'all with me on that? Mm-hmm. One thing I failed to mention before, it's been bugging me the whole time I'm talking up here, is I forgot to mention the slideshow part. I talked about the menu and I talked about the property search and featured property, and just bounced right past this slideshow. We will get control over the slideshow today. You can see on my page with Affordable Georgia Cabins, I've got a custom slideshow where it's just one slide, so I get this static image, and I'll explain how I did that and how to get control over that. So I just wanted to mention that now that I see it, and now I can stop thinking about it while I'm trying to talk. I hate it when that happens. So anyway, you can always check in and see the impact of changes you're making by clicking on this View Live Site button. So as we make changes to the featured listings right here, which is now having an impact, we just configured that part, now we're going to have an impact here. We're going to be able to choose which featured properties are showing up. Take a look at what's showing up by default right now. Before I've made any settings at all I've done is connected the website to FMLS, and looks like I'm a high roller, doesn't it? I mean, man, it'd be great to sell Paces Ferry Road, obviously. Well, the trouble is that's not realistic for my business, right? And so now we're getting into those two scenarios that I mentioned at the beginning of class. Scenario number one, we're going to talk about right now, which is if I don't have any inventory, how can I get inventory, other inventory showing that's relative to my price point, my sales territory, to my maybe a niche? Because this is, I would love to sell $21 million listing, but it's not realistic. I got to get this pricing reeled in, and I got to get the geography reeled in, because that's all over Atlanta, right? So that's what we're going to work on right now. So here I am back up here in my control panel, and I'm going to click into featured listings. And this is the featured listings tool. And for this first scenario, I'm going to be working under this tab here called filter listings, and I'm going to manipulate what's showing by making changes to listing criteria here. So yours may look a little different than mine because I've got nothing set, and so if there's no value at all, if nothing's been set, the first time you come here, they go ahead and they print out minimum bass, bed, price, and all this stuff. If you set any one criteria and save it, when you come back, all these blanks will be gone and the one criteria you saved will be there. So if you have messed with it, or sometimes what happens is agent services is always working to get people as far in advance in terms of onboarding as possible. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll get in this area and they'll show like the market center listings on your website for you. So if it looks like somebody's done something to your website you didn't do, it's probably just agent services. And you can leave what they've got, or you can manipulate this as long as you want, as much as you want, because you're going to learn how this works now, so you're going to have control over it. So we're going to be using different criteria. My first problem is the price. $21 million, that'd be a great listing, but I need to reel this in. So if I want to show featured properties on my website that are relative, let's just say in Dunwoody, what do y'all think a good high maximum would be based on the mean price in Dunwoody? It'd be like 800,000, is that about right for this area? That's what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna put max price of, how about I put 750? All right, so I'm gonna put a max price of 750. Now, in a real world situation, obviously you can configure as much as this as you want at a time. I'm gonna do it one piece at a time. I'm gonna come in here and watch what happens. With this one criteria, if I hit search, I'm sorry, you hit it. You can see it results down here in 46,472 listings. Those are FMLS listings. So that's telling me there are 46,000 listings that match my search criteria, basically anything below max price. If I go lock this in, and then come back up here and look at my website, there it is right there, view live website, it should have a visual impact. Here we go, we can see things are beginning to change, right? So now instead of $21 million, I'm seeing a $750,000 price point. I'm obviously not going to leave this the way it is. I'm just showing you the progress of it. So making progress, let's go back into our toolbox over here, featured listings. So the price is right. And you can see where it took all those other blank criteria out. Now I'm stuck with just whatever I had. I'm just going to customize these criteria. So if the price is in the right range, now let's work on the geography. So I can select different criteria, and there should be some location-based, there they are, location-based criterias. It used to be it was just city, state, zip, neighborhood, and county, but they've added quite a few now. I've played around with a lot of them, not all of them. Like I don't know the difference between, for example, raw neighborhood and neighborhood, and nobody's been able to tell me what, do you ever see that in FMLS? Raw neighborhood? I have no idea. So I don't really know the difference there. But I do know that the schools, if you set it by middle school or if you try it at the elementary or high school, those pieces work. It's pretty good if you want to use that as a criteria. To get this explanation though, I'm gonna use city for now to get us started. So I'm gonna add city as my criteria. There it is. And I'm gonna put in Dunwoody, right? Because we're working here at Dunwoody today. Notice how as I start typing Dunwoody, it begins to fill this out. This is not your browser doing an autofill. It's actually a real-time connection to FMLS, and it's talking to FMLS and knows that as I'm typing DUNW, there is a match in the database in FMLS. So that serves kind of as a visual cue that what you're typing is going to be found there. When you see it, you can click on it. I think it's interesting though. A lot of people think that's just my browser doing an autofill, but it's not. It's actually talking to FMLS. So I could go in here and search that now, and it knocked down that 46,240. Now I got 240 listings based on two criteria, max price and city. I could just keep on coming in. I could save that and just progressively take a look at it. Now I've showed you this, view live site. The problem with viewing the live site every time is, if you haven't noticed, every time I click on it, look what it does. It spawns another copy. I've got all these copies up here on my webpage. It kind of gets crazy after a while. So usually what I do is I don't hit view live site every time. What I do is usually leave one of these open. View live site, and then I'll just refresh the page every time. That way I don't continue to collect a whole bunch of copies of my website. But if you ever, like I just closed all my tabs now, so if you close all your tabs and you need a reference, you can click on view live site. So here we go. Look at the improvement, right? Dramatic improvement. I don't have the commercial property in square one like I had a minute ago. Now I'm starting to look like a Dunwoody agent, right? So I've got the right geography, I'm getting the right price point, and I can keep working on this a little bit. How many listings did we say there was? 260 we said?
40.
202, what was it? I was down here. 240. That's an interesting thing to know. 240 listings. So while we see 4 tiles here, it's important to know that this is a dynamic list, right? And it's currently in a certain sort order. It's in descending sort order, highest price to lowest. That whole list of 240 goes all the way out past the door there, right? It's just they only show the 4 top listings based on the sort order, and the sort order is highest to lowest price. So that means if Sheridan Lane, 5153 Sheridan Lane, if that sells, that first one, then those 3 would move over, and the next one in that 240 would fill in slot number 4. You get it? So that's nice to have that set up. If you have 240 listings or so, then that gives you the ability to sort of set this and forget it. You don't have to constantly go back and manicure your list, right? So it's just constantly feeding in there. So one thing I like about the sort order, if you look at this, 749, 749, what do we have over here? Can't see it, 734. To me, if I was a consumer, I would look at this and say, okay, this looks very robotic. You know, it looks like you just kind of set a price range and just, you know, the sort order doesn't do any favors here at all. But watch this little trick. I love this. Usually I can get interesting results by changing the sort order. Instead of sorting it by highest to lowest, this is one that I really like, and consumers won't be expecting this. Total images most. I love this because now it'll put the listing with the most images first and so forth. If I search that, I'm still got 240. But it shuffles the deck of listings a little bit. Watch what happens. So instead of hitting here, I'm going to come up. This is now stale because I've made changes, so let me refresh it as I like to do. There we go. And the criteria is the same, but the order is different. And I like what's happened there, you know, because now it looks like these are Scott Harding's hand-picked featured properties. There's no rhyme or reason other than it must be what I have featured, right? Which is kind of cool. Now, sometimes, you know, somebody will go take a ton of pictures of an ugly listing, and it gets there in first place. You're like, what's going on? You may have to tweak your filters to knock one out or something like that. But for the most part, it usually gets pretty good results. So I like the sort order, and you can continue to define criteria. I mean, I just did price and location, but there's quite a few different options. Check it out. I could keep on going with search criteria. I could knock out several things, like maybe I could go to, here we go, purchase type. If I add purchase type, there it is. I can come in and I can say, you know what, show me only for sale. And that would knock out rentals if I don't want to show rentals as my featured properties. Search that, went down to 240, I guess. Let's see what the difference is. Everything in that price range was for sale. Okay, so I'm really not knocking out anything now. But if a rental were to go on the market, it didn't map my criteria here and here. It wouldn't show up if I keep buy in there. And I could keep changing things around. I could say, let's look at property type. Like what is property type versus property type curated? I have no clue.
Status.
Status? Curated?
No, I'm just saying status was an option.
Oh.
So active versus.
Oh, I see. I think the way our agreement works is only going to show actives. So even if you were to try and force that criteria in there, they are going to see as actives. So the property type, I thought you were explaining curated. I was like, finally, somebody's telling me what that is. So I've added property type, and now I can come in here and start drilling in and go, you know what, don't show me any commercials, just show me residential, residential, detached. I think I'm good with that, right? And so now if I hit search, 232, so it got rid of any commercial and no lots, no lands, things like that. So it really starts to kind of drill into exactly what I want, right? So I can recycle that. It's probably not going to change these because I bet you they weren't affected. Oh, look, that first one was. It got even prettier. Look at that. It moved that one down there. Interesting. So I think that's an interesting way to get your featured properties set up. And it's still, of course, all 230 so are in the list. It's just showing the first 4 based on my sort order. Now, a lot of times I'm talking to people that are new to the Placester website, and especially a new agent, and there's a certain amount of pressure to try and define as much criteria as possible for your featured properties. Like, you know, hey, I'll work in Stockbridge or I'll work in LJ. I don't care. You know, they try to, you know, capture everything in these wide ranges. And one of the things I would tell you is, or suggest, is when it comes to creating the featured properties, an analogy that I like to share is think of it like going to the mall, walking through the mall, and you see all the stores in the main walkway. And what do they do in a store with a showcase window? Do they put everything they sell? They cram it into the showcase window? Of course not, right? They get a cross section of what they sell, and they're purposeful about it. They figure out what their target demographic would be interested in, and they put that kind of bait, if you will, in the showcase window. The idea is they want to instigate some engagement. They want to pinch a nerve on their target demographic. When you walk by, if you're their target, they want to pinch that nerve of engagement. So you look at that and go, oh my gosh, let's go in there. And then once you go in the store, then you take the time to rifle through every shelf or everything on the rack or everything and take your time looking at it. Same thing here. Don't feel like you need to try to define every real estate situation or geography or whatever the case is in your featured properties. I would encourage you to focus on the business you want to get. Right? What is your goal in terms of, maybe it's a neighborhood. I mean, you know, I just went through a whole bunch of criteria, but one of the criteria could be neighborhood. You know, you could come in, you could say, for featured listings, maybe I just knock all these out. Remove. What else have I got? Property types, remove. Just clear all that out. And there we go. And then maybe I come in here and just set up neighborhood. Anybody think of a neighborhood in Dunwoody that might have a listing? It's got kind of a large
branches.
What is it?
The branches.
The branches. There we go. D or 3?
The. Let's see.
All right. Let's see if there's anything in there. 9 listings are in there. Right? And by leaving this under filtered listings, that's going to keep this list dynamic. If I save that and then recycle my page, there it is. These will change out. And what we should be seeing, I would assume Branches Drive and Hidden Branches Drive, you know, those obviously are in branches. So imagine if in my conversations, if I'm talking to somebody and, you know, about my business and say, well, I'm really passionate about, you know, the branches, and maybe there's some adjacent neighborhoods too that you're interested in, you can put multiple neighborhoods in. But let's just say you're talking about the branches and you send somebody to your website, you go, you know, go to ScottHardyRealEstateGroup.com. You can see my website, and but you just got finished talking about how, you know, that's your passion, is that neighborhood, and boom, those listings are in that neighborhood. Or what if you really are passionate about that neighborhood and you're thinking, you know what, let's farm that neighborhood, let's go put door knockers on the doors. Have you thought about, you know, selling your home? Now's the time to do it. I specialize in this area. I'm passionate about the branches. I live here, I work here. Go to my website. Maybe my website is, you know, branch out real estate. I don't know, I'm just making something up. But maybe, you know, I put in a domain name that that's on my marketing. In fact, follow this. What if I were to get a domain name, something like maybe thebrancheslistings.com, maybe, right? And so on my marketing, on the door flyer or the door hanger or the flyer I hand to somebody knock on the door, but I say, you know, if you even thought about selling your house, now's the time to do it. With my help, I can get you little time on the market with big payoff, you know, because I specialize in this area. I know what I'm doing. Go to my website and learn more. I've got a free marketing kit on my website. You can read it. If you got questions, let's talk. My web address is thebrancheslistings.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that lines up, right, to that consumer's point of view, because they're living in the branches and you're telling them that's what you specialize in. So they go to www.thebranchelistings.com, they land on your webpage, and sure enough, the featured properties are the branches. Gosh, that would really make sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that I want you to follow, is just because you were to go to GoDaddy and get the brancheslistings.com, one thing that is interesting about domain names is there's no limit to the number of domain names you can have pointing to the same website. So maybe you've got 3 or 4 different neighborhoods you're really interested in. So maybe, like for Michael, what is your website again? Is it martinoinc.com? So his website is martinoinc.com. That's like his primary domain for his website. But you could also go and get the branches listings.com, and then the next neighborhood listings.com, and the neighborhood after that listings.com. You can get a couple more domains and still point them to this webpage without disturbing Martino Inc. So that way when you're marketing, you may have a set of flyers printed out with one domain name because it's geographically related to where you're passing the flyers out. Then when you're passing out in the next neighborhood, you've got those printed a little bit different with the other domain name that you own, right? And that makes sense. So you're kind of diversifying your marketing, and you could list all those neighborhoods as your featured properties and just let them randomly show up. People say, wow, look, he's showing listings in my neighborhood. Yeah, Michael Martino does work in my neighborhood. Just an idea, right? Just trying to get the wheel turning with some ideas of what you can maybe do in terms of listing management on your website and how you might market that. Does that make sense?
Does that help the optimization on Google when you?
Well, technically, the IDX does. That's an interesting question. The way that Placer's IDX works is it's an indexable IDX, and that means that when Google's bot crawls the page and is trying to pick up content, to say that it's an indexable IDX means that the indexing software can see the details of the listing and it considers it content for your page. Part of the protocol is if you have a link, the bot travels the link, right? And to see what else is there. So does it, and it analyzes what happens, right? So this is a link, right? This is clickable, right? That's clickable. So when the bot comes down here and it crawls, that's just text, okay? It doesn't do anything. Boom, it hits that, says that's a link. It's going to click on it. It's going to say, now what happened? Did he just send me somewhere else? No, actually, I went to another internal page on your website. So what it tells the bot is, wow, he's got content. He's got multiple pages about this topic. And so the more pages of content you have, the better it helps your site relevance. So one of the strategies that they have with Placer is to not send the bot off to a third-party site, you know, where the IDX hive is, but they want to keep that content on your site, on your page, because that way you get credit when the bot crawls the page. And so that's one of the key ingredients to Placer's success with search engines is, as far as this page is concerned, this site's concerned, you've got 4 different pages right here attached in about listings in, what is this, geography here, Sandy Springs, Dunwoody. Another topic for another time is an internal page called area pages, where you can use a strategy of building geographically based IDX pages for the sole purpose of search engine placement. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you want to do area pages with me on an appointment, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. It's really the next step once you get the page launched and you start building content to use area pages. All right, so we just worked with featured listings in the scenario of getting listings when you don't have inventory. What about when you do have inventory and you want to get your listings showing up? Here's what you can do. You can come in here and you can knock out everything to make sure it's all cleaned out. I can add a new search criteria, and this time I can come in and I can find a criteria called agent ID. By adding the agent ID, there it is right there. Now, because my website is tied into FMLS, the ID they're looking for is my FMLS ID. I don't have an FMLS ID, but I use one by Lisa Bale, who's a Rawls agent who's allowed me to just use her FMLS username. Lisa Bale's business's V-Team happens to be her username for FMLS. Don't need her password, all I need is the username. In this scenario that I'm showing you, if you're trying to show your listings, you'd be using your FMLS. I'm just role playing at the moment. If I search that, usually she has about a dozen or so, and she's got 9 listings right there, based on the one criteria of V-Team as an agent ID. So that would tie in and show me Lisa Bale's or in this scenario, my own listings. So if I save that on my page and then recycle it, these listings should go away and my own listings would show up. She had 9 listings that met the criteria. So the same scenario, this particular page only has 4 tiles. So based on my sort order of, I think I'm still set for the most photos first, the first 4 of those 9 with the most photos are showing up first. Right? Common question I get though, people saying, okay, that's great, she had 9. What if I only have 1 or maybe 2 listings? Let's talk about that scenario. If you only have 1 or 2 listings, then you would have 2 squares or 1 square available, right? What can you do? You can actually mix inventory. I'm going to come out of the filtered listings. We've been working under this tab the whole time so far. I'm going to move over now to specific listings. Look how this tool is a little bit different. Watch. When I click on it, it's going to be similar at the top. I've got my criteria, but then I've got 2 separate activities down here. The way it works is this. I set criteria. Whatever criteria I set here, when I hit search, will show up down in this left-hand column. And the idea is whatever I move from the left to the right, whatever's on the right is what's going to be pinned to my website, up to the limit of tiles for that template. This is Madison's got 4 squares, right? So I can't get more than 4 showing. I can put more than 4 in this column. So let's do this. Let's say instead of V team, let me try P Simone. See what she's got. Shouldn't always have. Oh, she's busy. 9 right now. I had one other person. Who was it? Usually doesn't carry very many. Let's just do some pretend. Let's pretend that I put in Vail, search that. Oops. I'm thinking Lisa Vail, but I should have put V-Team in. Let's just pretend when I search V-Team, let's say she only had 3 listings, okay? Not 9. Let's just pretend like that number is a 3 and all we see is 3 listings. So what I could do is I could come over here and let's just put 3 over there. I'll put that one, and that one. Now let's save this. Let's go look at the page. So I'm just pretending that when I search my ID, all I had was 3 inventory. So you can see there's a deficit there, right? I don't know if consumers would catch on to that. For me, if they were to just center that group in the middle, I'd be good with just showing the 3. But it bugs me to no end that it's left justified making that hole over there. It's just a loud hole for me. It just drives me crazy. So I want to fill this space. So here's what I can do. If these are my listings, she's got a 4.2 million, a 1.7, and a 625. Wow, that's a big range. This is just a technique that I've played around with. So here's what I'm going to do. My current sort order, just watch this for a minute. So here I am under specified. My sort order is set price highest to lowest, right? That's why we're seeing this order. So if I want to add, if I want to mix listings, I've got to sort these by price usually, either ascending or descending. I'm going to go with descending, 4.2, 1.7, and then 625. I'm going to remember the lowest number, 625. And here's a technique that I've done. I'll go in, remembering that lowest price, I'll add a criteria of max price, max price, add that. And remembering that her lowest price was 625, I'll come in and I will put in something like 600,000. If I do my math right. In this scenario, I've got to drop this V team out of there, right? Because we're done using those listings. Just because remember, we pretended like it only fetched 3, so I need to remove that. So now I've got my max price strategically set just below the lowest price here, 625. These are in the Dunwoody area. She usually works in Atlanta, Sandy Springs. So I'm going to try and match those up a little bit and get this into the right city. Let me get this into Sandy Springs. You see where it's starting to fill it out. There we go. I'm going to search that. And look down here. I ended up with 328 listings that matched my criteria. Max price is 600,000 in Sandy Springs. those 3 that I have pinned, they're still there. So now what I can do is I could go over here and I can say add all. Watch, I can just say add all. And it's going to move all these 1 through 10, just moved over. My number just went from 3 to 13. Look at that. And I can keep adding. I come down here to page number 2, add all. It should go up by 10 again, 23. I usually add like 50. Get about 50 or so. Page 4, add all. Page 5, add all. We'll do one more. Build myself a nice little list, right? So I got 63 listings. Watch what happens now. When I go save that and come to my page, here we are. There's the problem we set up. We set this problem up that I only have 3 listings. Now that I've added that second criteria, if I recycle the page, those original 3 listings should still be there. There they are, right? 1, 2, and 3. And then this begins that dynamic list. Those extra 60 that I added are now feeding into this last tile. So this is still a dynamic list. If this were to sell right here, if this were to go Centennial Trace, that comes off the market, then Northway Drive would come in, and then the next one would fill in. If 2 of these were to sell, if Mount Vernon and Centennial Trace were to sell, these 2 would pop off, Northway Drive would fill in, and then I'd have more of those dynamic lists of 60 would keep filling until I show a total of 4. But because my second list is strategically below this lowest price, it locks these in, because these are mine, and then these are similar. These are somebody else's. Is that making sense? So that way I can keep mine up here in front. If I said to myself, hey, remember that trick Scott showed me about sorting it by most photos first and how cool that was? Let's see what happened. If I change this and did most images as my criteria and save it, chances are my 3 that I own, they're gonna go bye-bye. More than likely. I was trying to recycle. Try that again, recycle. Hello. Yeah, there they go. Of course, they're gone. The trick only works because of the sort order. And because I disturbed that, now I got listings all over the place. But if I keep that sort order in descending order, then it'll keep my particular listings in the first 3 spots. And now I'm happy again. If that went over your head, if you're not sure what I did there, don't let that bother you. We can talk about it after class on a one-on-one basis. If you're working to get your listings, your featured listings to show up and you're not getting the results for any reason, don't let that bother you, because we'll have time at the end of class where I'll make sure you leave here today with the right listings that you want showing up. So, one other tip that I'll show you about featured listings, and this is a common thing that I've started hearing lately. Market centers have said, hey, can you show how an agent with no inventory can just show the market center listings on their webpage until they get some listings? And here's a really easy way to do it. Come back in, this time back to filtered listings, blow all these criteria out. Super simple, watch. If you come in and set, you can leave that total images most if you want to. If I do one criteria right here called office, there's office ID. I cleared everything else out. I just put office ID. And then what's the broker code here?
KWAP01. AP.
Oh my gosh, I hate these keyboards, these big keyed keyboards. They don't do any good for me. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's it, QAP 01. So if I search that, now we're going to have, there's 323 listings that match the one criteria of QAP. And I can go ahead and I can save that if I want to. And then recycle the page, and now it's going to show Atlanta perimeter listings will be featured. That's kind of a nice thing to do, you know, whenever you have, if you don't have any inventory at all, and you just want to get some listings, why not promote your market center, right? And you can still play around with it. You can come in and say, you know what, show me all QAP listings, but don't show any property types. You can say, but you know, I'll do Atlanta perimeter, but maybe you just want to show, shoot, hang on, property type. Where is it? Property type. There we go. A lot of times people say, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't want to show commercial and land. So then you can come back and you can get residential attached. There you go. Save that. And that way you're showing office listings that are just residential if that's all you want to show. Of course, those are residential anyway, so it'll filter it out. All right, so that's how you can get control of the featured properties. Anybody got any questions or comments or thoughts about featured properties before we move on? Paige, did you have a question? Michael, what's the no? Goodness gracious, stand up. I'm just kidding. Okay, well, let's switch gears. That topic is important, but I find it can be a little boring, but it's worth getting to know how this works. I think these topics are a little bit more fun. It's more the arts and crafts side of building your site design, starting with theme selection. Here's where we get our opportunity to start picking through different templates. As I mentioned, there's 9 different templates. I'm currently showing you the Madison template. It's the default template. You can see the name right there, Madison. And then as I flip through the pages, we've got Madison Luxury and Madison Metro. Then it continues with some more city names like Franklin, Phoenix, the Fremont, Sedona, Toronto. What's interesting, Plymouth, I know I'm going through those kind of fast. You can take your time as you flip them on your screen. What's interesting is that when KW and Placester forged their relationship, part of the agreement was that Placester would create 2 KW exclusive templates for residential agents. And that's what the Madison series is all about. Only KW agents have access to the Madisons. I did later learn that Remax has the same agreement. There's some Remax exclusive and some Harry Norman exclusive templates. For us, they're the Madisons though. This first Madison is the default. It's the most common one that most people use. You don't have to use it though. You can choose through any of these. The choices you get include a color choice where you can go through and make broad color adjustment. Right? You can't be specific and say I want a green banner with yellow buttons and blue lettering. You just basically choose a theme or a scheme, if you will. I'll do the teal or I'll do the green, maybe the gray. And with the Madison, you also have the additional choice of toggling number 3, which is select your page header. Your background color will match the color selected above. If I check this first option, even though it's currently red, all it's saying is do you want a full color or do you want the second option, which is a white background. If I choose full color, then whatever color wheel I choose will be in play up here. So you can see gray, there it is in orange. Right, so if I choose that in orange and I save that and go look at my page, now when I recycle it, it should come up as an orange, there it is, orange Madison. If I come down and change this checkbox down to here and keep it orange, even though the preview still shows a full color, it'll change my website to being a white background, here we go, recycle it, with orange highlights, just going to invert everything. There you go. All right, so that's a feature that's unique to the Madisons, the Madison, is that you have control over that banner as to whether or not you want it to be a full colored or not. Most people use the Madison, I think, because they like the full colored banner. It adds a nice balance and weight at the top. The white, in my opinion, is kind of washed out a little bit. If you look at the other templates outside the Madison, all of them feature a white banner. Right? So most commonly I'll get a call, someone says, hey, I'm trying to change the Toronto, I want a green banner. And I have to have the conversation of, well, you're going to need to get on the Madison if you want to have a colorful banner. And then the second question I get is people say, I want the Madison with the black banner. And notice black's not a choice here. But there is a Madison floating around with a black banner. It's right here. Look at this. If I go over here, Madison Luxury has the black banner. But here's the thing you need to know about Madison Luxury. If I choose the Madison Luxury template, save it, mechanically speaking, the system will let me do it, but you may run into some problems because of this right here. Keep in mind that if I scroll down here, I'm rocking the Luxury logo. And if I'm not a member of Luxury, I may get a phone call saying, hey, you're not supposed to be doing that, right? Because there's rules about using the Luxury marketing. You got to be a member of the Luxury group. You got to pay to be a member. You have to have a certain sales record, I think, to do it. And so it used to be you couldn't even get to the Luxury unless they had Luxury designation on your white pages. And then somewhere last year, Placester made a change and they made this available to everybody in general. I usually stop and point this out and say, even though it is available, I wouldn't use it unless you're a luxury agent. Doesn't mean you can't sell luxury real estate, just means you can't advertise yourself as a luxury agent. So I think this is an error that they need to fix. They need to take this off. And it used to be this way for luxury and commercial. There's a commercial template, but I can't show it to you because I don't have commercial in my designations, right? If I did though, then I would have total of 10 templates, and one of them would be commercial. So as your roles change at Keller Williams, it does have impact on your templates. Commercial and luxury are the two roles. Although for some reason, I don't know why, they made that available. So watch out for that. Hope that makes sense. Then Madison Metro. It used to be all you have was Madison and Madison Metro and then the other retail templates. But now you've got those three Madison Luxury, and Madison Metro. The difference between Madison Metro and Madison are difficult to identify. I've actually went to the booth at Placester and said, hey, how would you differentiate the difference between Madison Metro and Madison? Because I'm having a hard time answering that question. The way they described it, they said the Metro is just an overall softer type version of the Madison. You know, the fonts are a little bit softer, it's a little bit more elegant. I was like, okay, I'll be sure and tell people in class it's softer and it's more elegant. Which I just did, so there you go. One thing that's interesting is it used to be you could change the banner, but they took that out too. So now only Madison allows you to do a full color banner. I can change the color of my highlights in Madison Metro. Right, the buttons are changing, the lettering's changing, but that option about the banner is only going to be present on the Madison. So if you're after that full color banner, then that puts you on the Madison, right? So I think that's why the Madison's so popular. Everybody likes that. And then over here, you start getting into the different retail license templates. Anybody who's a Placester customer can use these. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, they're great for what they are. They all have different characteristics. One reason to get on a different template, they don't really show it in the preview, but if you get on the different templates and experiment, like the Plymouth, for example, if I save that, is the impact it has on your featured properties. So look, if I come down here, recycle my page, now that I'm on what did I change, the Plymouth? So here comes the Plymouth. And look at the featured properties. Instead of 4, I've got quite a list. Was that 9? So that's more. So some people, that's reason enough for somebody to jump off the Madison sometimes and get on to another template because it has more featured listings. They just like it better. So each template has the same objects and the same components. It just may be organized a little different, you know. They just have a little different character. So it's worth checking them out. One thing that people like about the Plymouth that I'm on right now, this is the Plymouth. It's similar to the Madison. It's in the sense that it has an image that goes fully to the edge. Not all these templates have an image that goes all the way to the edge, but the Madison does, but it's got the property search stuck in the middle. Whereas the Plymouth, it features a full bleed image, but it puts the property search down here. And some people really like that, especially if you have a critical image, an image that really captures your business. Like for example, my Smyrna. This keyboard, I need my own keyboard. Smyrna Realtor.com is an example of oh man, come on. It says keyboard's fault, I promise. My Smyrna Realtor.com. If you look at this web page here, there's a mission critical image. You can see where on this, the way she's done her custom slideshow there, where she created that image. Imagine a property search, boom, right there across her forehead. Mm-hmm. You know, if this wasn't a Plymouth, which she's on the Plymouth. If she was over here on Madison, what would she have right in the middle of her head? You know, so those are some cases where it might make sense to get off the Madison and use one of the custom templates. Pretty cool usage of that slideshow, if you ask me. I think if this was mine, I'd probably be good with that one slide. I love it. In fact, we're going to talk about slides now, how you get control over that. I called her. I said, Christina, how did you do this? I'm like, where'd you get this image from? She said, well, I took a picture of one of my listings here on the left, got permission. Then I went to a clip art website that had free clip art and downloaded the Home Sweet Home. And then she took a tightly cropped headshot. You can see how tightly it's cropped there. And she pasted it over the seam between the two. And then she slapped on a Keller Williams Cityside logo, right? Clear, transparent PNG. And I was like, this is a brilliant use of the slideshow. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I love that, the warmth of it. She said, well, the reason I did it was because she liked the Plymouth in general, But the Plymouth doesn't feature the professional headshot until you get way down here. It's the first time the consumer runs into the headshot. And so that got them to think. They said, well, they like the property search down there, and they said, let's figure it out. And they came up with that. And I thought, well, that was pretty smart. Very interesting that she did that. So if we're looking at slideshows, so here's my templates. Once I'm done picking a template, oh, come on. Kind of got a little buggy on me. There we go. So once I've done a theme selection, a template, now I can work on my slideshow, which gives me control of that very thing we're talking about, right? In my case, for affordable Georgia cabins, I got a single cabin. For my new website, I've got this this slideshow sliding, and there it is right there, sliding across. This is my blank page here, and I've got, there it is. So when you start your first Placester website, they begin with a courtesy slideshow. There's about maybe half a dozen different themed slideshows you can pick from. There's always a maximum of 5 slides per slideshow, and this is the current default slideshow that's sliding through. So when you first launch your page, it starts out with this particular slideshow. You get control over it by coming down here to slideshow, and then that allows you to configure the different slideshows that are in play. The slideshow in play is always indicated with a blue circle and a white check. So here's my first one. The Highland is what's defaulted, and you can kind of preview each slide by thumbing through it there. Then you can come down and you can see the next one is called Interiors. This is built-in slideshow. There's 5 slides per show, and this is themed as the Interiors. And then down here is Variety. This is the former default. Before we had the Highland, this was the one that everybody defaulted to, and there's 5 slides in that one as well. And then Luxury Properties. These are the courtesy slideshows you can pick from. And then Mid-Priced Homes. And then if you want, and those of you that are up for a real challenge, if you want to do a nature theme on your real estate website, there you go. And as beautiful as these are amazing shots, right? I just don't know how they sell real estate. That's difficult. Somewhere, somebody's figured out how to do it though. So the idea is you browse through these different themes, and you see one you may be interested in. In fact, I'm going to take myself off the Highland. I'm going to be interested here in the Variety show, the Variety slideshow. You just hit select, and it digs deeper into the options. So now I'm evaluating each slide. There's activities that I can perform against each of the 5 slides. Starting with the first one, I can, well, first off, if I didn't like this slide for some reason, I could delete it, and I could upload an alternative image if I wanted to. But if I'm happy with the image, I can leave it alone, and I can caption the slide. I can come in here, whatever you write in this little field, it shows up in this region right here on the slideshow in the bottom left-hand corner. I can also link this slide. So I can put a web address in there in the link field, and what that does is whenever that slide slides across on the screen, if I tap on it, if my arrow is hovering over the slide, when that one comes over, it turns into a finger, indicating it's clickable. And if I click on it, it'll go to whatever destination I put in this address right here, in this field right here. First time when I was teaching this class, I mentioned that in one of the earlier classes, and somebody asked, why would you do that? Can you think of an example why you might would do that? And I was like, not really. I can tell you mechanically that's how it works, but I'm kind of hurting. And this girl raised her hand. She goes, I'll tell you what I'll do. And I thought, this is so good. I've shared it with every class. She said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and I'm going to delete every single image. I'm just going to delete them all. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to upload a flattering curve shot of each of my listings. And then on the caption, I'm going to write, click here for a virtual tour of this listing. And then for the link, I'm going to put the link to my virtual tour. And she stood up and took a bow. I was like, yeah, did you get it? That's a great example of using that area. Somebody else spoke up and said, I'm going to take one of those slides out, put a nice quality image of my team, and write in the caption, click here to meet the team, and then the link will go to a bio page or something, or a video. You can use these for anything. You could use the default slides that are there and roll with it, or You could use these as marketing opportunity. Maybe you're doing an open house and you want to advertise the open house. Maybe you could put together an image as a flyer for that. Maybe maybe it's an open house with a free home staging seminar at the open house this weekend. You could do that kind of thing and have that slide come across with a link that, click here for more information. You click there, it goes to a registration page. Some ideas. Over time, I've thought it through and thought, yeah, there's some things you can do here. Or you can just keep it real simple and just put, an image in there that's relative to your business. Or you could work with the default templates as they are. I'm going to work with the default template for now, variety, and save, and then go check out my page. So I'm going to recycle the page. And one thing I don't like at all is I don't like the white top. I'm going to go back and this is driving me crazy. So pardon me for a minute as I go back to theme and go. I'm going to put it on gray because I have some examples anyway I need to show you in a little bit. Now I'm going to recycle it and come back into the gray. So as gray, they're in the top, and my featured properties, look at my slideshow, there we are, remember variety. So there goes the slides, they're now sliding across. And I think I'm good with all these. There's the caption. Well, you know what? I'm good with all of them but this one. Let's go back to that. It's got a little micro menu there. If I go back to this one, I'm good with them all except this one because it's nature. This doesn't really convey Atlanta real estate at all, So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to come back in. I've already done that. Come back. I don't know why it's getting buggy on me like that. Here we are, slideshow. I'm going to find the slideshow that's in play. Of course, I'm looking for the blue circle, the white check. It's easy to remember when you're in the middle of all this, but if you come back a week later, you're like, which one was it? It's nice to get that little tickler there to show you which one's in use. So now I'm going to go and reevaluate slide number 4. It says I don't like it. So yeah, I don't like this at all. I'm going to delete it. Now that I've deleted it, I have a choice to make. Two ways I could go about this. I could stop what I'm doing here and save it, and I could convert my 5-slide slideshow into a 4-slide slideshow and be done, right? It's not going to slide a blank across. It'll just be a 4-slide slideshow, which is kind of cool. Or I can go ahead and take advantage of the vacant slide here in slide 4 and go ahead and upload a new image from my computer, right, if I wanted to, which I'm going to do. But before I do, I want to ask a question. What do y'all think the most important thing is about adding images to your website? Any ideas? Most important thing.
Quality.
Yes.
What was it?
Quality.
Quality is important. I'm looking for a little bit more important.
Maybe the size.
The size.
Having the rights.
The rights. That's what I'm looking for. That's exactly right. Permission is probably the top requirement for images, right? Size is important. Quality is important. But permission, I think, is important over everything else. And to drive that point home, I want to share a story with you right quick. First-hand story that happened to me. When I first started teaching this class, we were transitioning from e-agency and e-edge to Placester. As I mentioned before, I had my treehouse site set up, the treehousefinder.com, and it would go to my e-agency site. And it was great. Everybody loved it and got a lot of laughs out of it, because I had it dressed up really nice and it looked like I was selling tree houses. And so I brought that over to the Placester site and kind of embodied that. And as I was teaching the class, we got to the end of one of our early classes, and they said, hey, you didn't go into blogs. And wondering, can you take a minute and show us how to do a blog post? And I said, well, sure, I'll do it. And so I went over to Pete Nelson's blog, which is the author of, or the producer for Treehouse Masters, the website, the TV show. And I said, no, don't do what I'm about to do. I told the class not to do it. I said, but I went to right click on this image and I saved an image off of one of his blog posts, and then I copied a couple paragraphs, and I said, okay, now I've got the parts for this blog post, so here's the mechanics of putting a blog post together. And I built a blog post on the website and used the image and pasted the content, and then I took a bow and said, there you go. Everybody's so happy about it. That was easy, class dismissed. Well, I forgot that I had done that. And I can tell by your smile you know where this is going. So fast forward, it must have been 6 months probably. I get a phone call from one of the market centers, and they said, hey, you've got a stack of mail over here. I never get mail at these market centers on purpose, And interesting that the address I had at the bottom of that website was the Market Center's address that was calling me. And they said, yeah, it's from a company called Getty Images. Did you buy something? And I thought, probably, probably, the way it sounds. And they started reading the letters, and they were kind of progressively reading them. They were getting worse and worse, like stop using the image. We've told you to stop using the image.
Oh, no.
You're refusing to acknowledge that I was like, can you get the last one? And the last one was a demand for $1,600 for, violation of the agreement and terms and all this stuff. I was just floored. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's a very condemning letter. They take a picture of your website. Next to it, they open their catalog of images with that image, the offending image, and its serial number and its retail price, and and all this stuff. And they put that in a nice package and send it to you. And so I said, well, let me make a phone call or two. They said, yeah, why don't you do that? And I called Getty Images. And I thought, I'm just going to be bold. I hear you guys talking about bold. I'm going to be bold, and I'm just going to tell them, sorry, I made a mistake. Let's see how far I can get. So I talked to a sales rep who I told him the whole story. I didn't tell him I was the director of technology. I said, hey, I'm a guy. I got to teach this class for my job. I made a mistake. I taught this class, and I showed how to do this, and I used this image, and I just made a mistake. The guy says, what do you want from me? And I said, I'm looking for amnesty today. I thought I'll use a big word that might work. I'm looking for amnesty. It was not even a production website. He kind of chuckled. He said, let me get back to you. The next day he called. He says, great news. We're going to reduce your fine by 50%.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is awesome. And then I did the math. I was like, but that's still $800. And he said that they were waiving the Getty image fee, but that they paid royalties to the photographer, and they could not recoup the royalties. And they said, so that you're going to have to cover. I was like, wow. So I had the pleasure of walking into my boss's office, Gene Rawls, and explained to her that I made an $800 mistake. Right? Still, it's horrible. And fortunately, I work for an amazing woman, who's very fair and realizes that we're people. We make mistakes, and she counseled me on how we fail forward, and we took care of the matter. And on the way out the door, she said, "But tell me, how are we going to prevent this from happening at the agent level? What can we do?" And I said, "Well, maybe a public service announcement at every class would be a good idea." She said, "I think so. So you've just got your public service announcement. But believe it or not, the story doesn't end there. You want to hear the rest?"
Absolutely.
It gets worse. So I'm thinking, okay, everything's good. We're hunky-dory.
She wrote a check.
So she wrote a check for it, and we paid them off, and went on. So it used to be, back on my website, I had, for testimonies, I had these mock-up testimonies of celebrities, like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, George Clooney. They were hilarious. The people laughed in class because it was stuff like, Scott Hardy helped me. When Oprah Winfrey made it look like she was saying, Scott Hardy, found my dream home in Atlanta. I couldn't have done it without him. That kind of stuff. Just totally cheeky, So when Obama retired as the president and Trump became president, I took Obama off my website and put Trump up there. And I had a hilarious quote, like, Scott Hardy taught me more about real estate than I ever would have known on my own. People were just laughing in class. It was a good relief, Well, so one day I get a phone call from this office, as a matter of fact. You got a stack of mail. I kid you not, that's how that conversation began. You have a stack of mail over here. And I thought, what? And the MCA was calling. And she said, this time it wasn't, it was an attorney's office. And turns out that Trump photo wasn't that Trump was after me, it was whoever had the photo rights was after me. And this was a $1,700, hunt. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I thought I had permission for the image. I mean, I was going to Google and doing image search and filtering for free for reuse and all this kind of stuff. Don't fall for that. Doesn't mean it's free for reuse. There's usually terms attached to it. Things like, free for reuse as long as it's the same domestic IP as the hosting server, which means if they're on an offshore server and you're on a domestic, connection, hosting the website out of Placester, then you're in violation and they're going to come at you with the domestic attorney. I mean, that kind of stuff is crazy. So I had the ultra pleasure of walking in my boss's office and saying I made the same stupid mistake, and it was just so frustrating. And so that one we went legal, and since there's attorneys already involved. And fortunately, there was some latitude on the fact that it was a demo site and not in production. But by the time we got the reduced fine, paid the attorney's fees, it was still $1,700. And I felt like a moron. I mean, just absolutely, I'm trying to be aware of this stuff, and I'm trying to teach the class, and I'm over here making the very mistake, you know? So I just said, don't worry, Gene, I'm killing the website today. And so treehousefinder.com is no more. I just killed that site. I was like, I'm just so frustrated with this. And that's when I got the idea of rebirthing my log cabin site. I just want to be in a cabin. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to be in a cabin in the woods. Nobody chasing me anymore. You know,
Post office.
It's so bad. So hopefully that story resonates and connects, and you realize, oh my gosh, you know, I need to be aware of getting permission for images. If you think your site has images that are illegal and you're not sure, one thing you can do to just stop the problem right away is if you just go into your control panel, up here at sites, and then I've got two because I'm launching one and playing around with it. But see the disable, where you have the option to disable. If you disable the site, it goes dark immediately and it's no longer on the internet. So you can disable the site and then you can still go in and edit it and go clean it up. You know, or like me, you can freak out and delete the whole thing. Anyway, make sure you've got permission to use images. So hopefully in your mind you're wondering, well, where can I get images that have permission? And you know, it's not that hard. I mean, it's just a matter of deciding that's what you're going to do. You know, I mean, you can take photos and then you got permission as long as the subject is photographical. You know, sometimes people say you can't take photos of certain things, but you know, pay attention to that. But buying the image, I think, is a great answer. You know, and I used to say, so what if it cost you $200 or $300 to buy the right image? You find the right image at Getty or Shutterstock, and it captures the branding of your business, and you're happy with it, and you know it's an expense. And what I found is when I suggest that in class, more and more people have raised their hand and said, yeah, that sounds good, but I didn't pay $200 or $300. I paid like $30 or $40. And so what I've learned is my pricing was way off on that. It's actually very cheap. So $30 or $40 beats the pants off of $1,700, you know, and getting in all this trouble. So buying the image is an option. Another option, and this is what I use, is a service called Pixabay. Pixabay.com. I love this site. It's stunning free images and royalty-free stock. Wow, they just updated that. They just changed that title. It used to just be stunning free images, I think. But anyway, this is powered by Getty, I think, and or it's got some different sources in here. But you can find quite a bit of free images. My marketing, any of my training materials, my website, everything I do, pretty much 90% or better comes from Pixabay at this point, and I've been able to put together what I need. You know, if you compare Pixabay to Getty Images or Shutterstock, you know, those premium services are going to have a premium selection of photos, hands down. But this gets the job done. I mean, there's nothing to sneeze at. Like if I were to go in and say, you know, Atlanta skyline, I like this example because I see this offense all the time. I mean, it's got pretty good selection. This first row, of course, is sponsored by Shutterstock. So if you know, they're hoping that they pinch a nerve and you're like, oh, I gotta have that image. Of course you can have it if you pay for it. But then below these are all free. All right, so you can pick some of these images if you want to. Now, if you're trying to fill in a space that looks like this rectangle, a couple things to keep in mind. The perfect fit, the size of the perfect fit, if you're taking notes, you might want to write it down, is 1,600 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. That's 1,600 by 600. So they don't have the sizes written out on these galleries, but when you click through it, it will tell you the size. So if I click through it, you can see I've got these sizes to choose from. But one thing you can do, 1,600 by 600. One thing you can do is a quick way to just sort of estimate it is to look for rectangular images. So like this one here is very squared off. That one there is pretty squared off. Actually, I'll put those in. They actually work okay. The Sprite one is very much a square. Like look at this one here. It's even a rectangle in the wrong direction. You know what would happen if I loaded this image up? Is the auto crop would come in and it would slice it here and slice it there, and it would take the middle section out and stretch it to make it work. And it wouldn't even look anything like this. You know, it looks so bad. So one way to just kind of get in the right ballpark is by looking for rectangular shapes. It will auto crop them and stretch them a little bit, but it's usually acceptable. I'll make another example. I like the skyline. Here lately I've been drifting towards more like homes. Oh, I think I love this one right here. I'm going to go popcorn. I haven't seen this one yet. So let's say I grab that one there. Let's say I want to use that for my image. If I come down to the free download button, I've got the choices of 640 by 426, 1280 by 855, 1920 by 1280, and 5760 by 3840. Those are some numbers I need to consider. Here's how I make my way through these numbers. If I know 1600 by 600 is the perfect fit, think about this. In my experience, have you ever taken an image that was small and uploaded it to a web page or something that had a bigger footprint? What happens? It stretches, and you know something's gone wrong, right? Because it's ugly. It stretches it and it loses its quality. But if you take an image that's bigger than the intended footprint and you force it up to upload it to a smaller footprint, the image just gets smaller and you don't lose quality, right? So it's that principle that I keep in mind, that if I know 1600 by 600 is the ideal size, then I'm going to look for a number here that's bigger than 1600 by 600 because I want that effect of shrinking it instead of stretching it. If you get that wrong, you'll know. If you upload the image and it's wrong, you'll know because when that slide comes across, it'll be ugly. You'll say, oh, I know what I did. I need to get a bigger image. So I'm looking at these options, and 1280 by 853, it's close, but it wouldn't work. I would get some stretching on the width because that's 1280 wide. I need 1600. So that moves me down to this one here, 1920 by 1280. These numbers are bigger than my goals, right? 1600 versus 1920 and 600 versus 1280. So this is a winner here. I could do this bigger one, but here's the thing to watch out for is these higher resolution shots. While, I don't know if you know this or not, but high resolution is really reserved for print material. Printers can print at a higher quality than your screen can render. People don't realize that. You see a TV and you think it's amazing, but really printers today are better than TV screens, really, or monitors for sure. So when it comes to web work, you want to kind of strike a balance between the right size in terms of dimensions, but also the right size in terms of file size. If you look at these file sizes here, this is half a meg, 520 kilobytes versus 4 megs. What does that mean? Well, have you ever been on a web page, you load it, and you're waiting for the picture to paint across the screen? It's usually because somebody said, I'm going to make the most beautiful website, I'm going to use all these high-res photos, and that takes weight in terms of file size. And what you're waiting on is that file to download on your screen. So the idea is in web work, web development, you want to use low resolution. It's counterintuitive because you're like, I want it to be pretty. Well, low res can look pretty on a website, right? In print material, you want to use high res. So in this case here, I'm going to gravitate towards this number here. It's the closest number without going below my target numbers. It's going to get the lightest weight here in terms of download effect. I'm good with that. I'm going to download it. I'm going to accept the 1920, whatever it was. Now, if I just download this image, and here it is, the bottom left of my screen. There it is. If I upload this image, what's going to happen is the system is going to auto-crop it. And auto-crop, the way it works, is it basically takes the middle section out. It'll find 600. It'll find the middle line, and then it'll go 300 down, and then go across and cut it. And then it'll go the middle line and 300 up, and then cut it. And it'll save that middle section. And it'll make a 600 by 1600 image. And I'll lose the top and the bottom. And in some cases, it's not a big deal. In this case, it may be fine too. I don't know. I'm going to run it and see what happens. If it's no good, I'll show you in a minute how you can fix it. So let's go back over here to my slideshow. We've been doing a lot of talking. I've been doing a lot of talking. Where were we? Over here. Remember we left off way a long time ago over here. It's now become position 5. I just reorganized it. This was the beach shot, right? So I'm going to upload my new popcorn shot. It should be in my, oh, here it is. Downloads. I could write a caption if I want to, but I'm just going to save it. And I'm really anxious to kind of see what that's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Let me recycle that. Let's see. So it's going to be this one here. Oops. Did it miss it?
It was 5, and I think you're on.
Oh, that's right. It's going to 5. I was thinking 4. Not too bad. You see what the auto crop did? It took out the middle section and kept it. You know, if I want to get more of that fireplace, I maybe could. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I probably wouldn't use this in a production site. I'm not going to take our valuable time to go find another image, but I will show you a tool that I love for cropping in case you just found that image and you want to make it work. I've showed you Pixabay. Now check out Pixlr. Totally coincidental, these names are so similar. Pixlr, Pixlr.com. And Pixlr is an online web-based graphical editor. So if you don't have Photoshop or fancy editing software, a lot of agents don't, this is a great utility to get just your bread and butter editing done. Now I've always used the Pixlr editor, and recently, like last month, they introduced Pixlr X. I'm gonna try it. If it doesn't work, I'll jump into the editor, but I want to see how this works. I took a peek at it last class and said, oh, when I go home, I'm gonna play with it, and then I didn't play with it at all. So let me just see. You see how well this works. Now this is all, it is Flash based, so if you get an error message telling you to load Flash, you may have to either install Flash or enable Flash. Now here's something interesting that I learned about Chrome. This is just a tidbit, but it's helpful if you don't know this. Turns out, right up here in the address where that padlock is, that's actually a button. If I click on it, look at this, I get options. And this took me easily over a year to find, y'all, because how many times have you been to a website, Flash is installed, and it keeps saying Flash needs to be installed, and you're like, oh my gosh, I know I've installed it. If you click on this padlock area right here, it reveals a button that you can either configure Flash. Oh, this computer's locked down by the IT group, right? And access by your administrator. But anyway, if this is your personal computer, you could toggle this and say allow or disallow or whatever the case is. Or if you don't see Flash, you can go to site settings, and then you can find Flash right here and you can turn it on. We do this administratively from the server, so all of our workstations automatically have allow. But if this is your personal computer, you could be configuring that. So if you go to Pixlr and it doesn't work at first, remember that. Go up here, manipulate your Flash settings. But I'm going to open up a photo from my downloads. Should have a popcorn image here somewhere. There it is. And this looks like the crop tool here. This is my first time to use the new tool. Oh, yeah, look at this. So then now I can come down. Look at how this works. Our numbers are 1600 wide. So I'll go 1600 and then 600 high. I'll type 600 on the height. And now look, it gives me a clue to what that perfect size would be like. And there it is. So maybe I could do something, I can kind of move it around. Now I know where the perfect fit is. So maybe I do something, heck, even something like that might be even better. Who knows? I'm just playing around with this. I'm sort of regretting choosing the popcorn, but I'm going to download it anyway and move on. There we go. Heck, that might even actually look better. And now I'm going to go to my slideshow, go find the one in play. There it is, blue circle, white check, select. Come down and find my photo I want to play with. I'm going to upload an alternative. Let's see, it's going to be this one here. Notice it's cropped. Save it. Go look at my page. Recycle. This should change. I think it's going to look better with the. Let's go to the last one.
That's for sure.
I guess I like it. I don't know. I probably, in a real world scenario, would have chosen a different image.
Right, but you still have to pay
you
the
get
money.
the point where we can edit using Pixlr and get the right size for an image if we need to. I think I just chose bad content. I got excited.
Right, but I'm saying you're still going to have to.
So the gray
put up
actually
1200
covers up
and
a little bit at the top.
400.
Yeah, the gray is our toolbar at the very top. And I'll show you this. What's interesting is
They're not going to let you use the luxury sign, so you pay the
Well, it
If
covers up some of that picture.
if I zoom in on it or zoom out, it'll show you what different resolutions of computers. Because think about this computer is running one resolution, but your actual web visitor may be running a different resolution altogether. And if you zoom in and out, you can kind of get a sense of what they look like. Like I'm zooming in, see what it's doing to the image. I'm zooming out. You can kind of get an idea of what different computers may look like. Really, I think you just kind of have to play with it a little bit. This is probably not the best example Michael, would you shut that door all the way?
Sure.
Just while I'm-
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So anyway, this probably wasn't the best image. I jumped on it and regretted doing it. It would be better to maybe use more of a house or maybe a living room or some sort of landscape. But I think mechanically you got the point. So I'm gonna move on. Pixabay and Pixar though are two tools that I use regularly on these theme selections. Excuse me, on the slideshow. One thing I did for my affordable Georgia cabins, I did not care for the slide effect. It just kind of got old after a while, and I didn't like the motion of it. So one of the things I did to make it stabilize was I went in and I just deleted all these extra ones and just left one slide in there. And I'm just going to call this, I guess I'm going to rename it Popcorn. Why not? I will never use that example again. But anyway, there we go. So I can save that. You see, I'm just kind of making this my own slideshow. Now, if I look at slideshows, sure enough, there's my one custom slideshow that's in use. And if I go ahead and recycle my page, it'll now just be a static image of that one slide. So instead of sliding, we just hold on that one image. And that's how I did my cabin shot. Okay.
Will it let you slow down the slideshow?
And that was a very common question. That was a great question too. And it does not. It does not allow you to set a timer. That was the reason why I stopped the slides. It was going so quickly. You know, in another example, I'll show you this in a different class. When I did the slideshow, I downloaded a kitchen shot from Pixabay. Check it out. I saw it just a second ago. Look how cool these are. This is just a kitchen. I call it Gary's Kitchen because it's red. I got that off of Pixabay. Last class I did. Look how much better this looks. That popcorn is just really irritating me, obviously. Way better, right? Now it's like a real estate website again. I just couldn't leave that in good faith. All right, so I got that image off of Pixabay. And you can see with the single image, I like that it solves what you're talking about that slideshow. It goes too quick, in my opinion. I wish they gave you a timer because I would slow it down a little bit. Especially if you're writing a message, a marketing message or something, you know, open house this weekend, it goes too quick, you know. But there's nothing you can do about it in terms of the slideshow.
Will it let you do the arrows where you can scroll through the slides yourself?
No, instead of the arrows, it gives you
Yeah.
the little dotted menu down here. It doesn't show me now because I've only got one image in there. But when you got multiple images, it puts a dot system down there, which took me a while to see. It took me a minute to find that, you know. All right, let's move on though. Let's keep on going into, one of the things I like to do is, we're gonna talk about certification social networks, but while we still have plenty of time and we're still fresh, I wanna jump down to site info because there's some compliance things in here that we need to tackle. And this is kind of a big topic. I like to get this one done, and then these other ones will go by quickly and then we'll break. So let's get into site info. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down from slideshow. And let's talk about these sections here. There's a branding section, a contact details section, and office details section we're going to work on. And what these are doing is we're now starting to get control over this gray toolbar area. I've already got my name and the tagline in here, but we're going to start adding more stuff. Starting with the brand area. First two questions they ask you is fill out the site title and a tagline. And I find at times when you're starting to build your website, title and tagline can be a little difficult to come up with if you don't have the content of your page put together, if you don't even maybe have an idea of your content. You know, right now we're just setting the page up and launching it. Next will become content, and it takes some certain amount of thought process to figure out what is your content going to be about. And by the way, when it does come to content, one of the formulas that I approach to content is writing about geography, niche, and value system are the three components that I would usually put in for content. We may be able to talk about that in a little bit, but it may take some time for you to think about the geography and the niche of your business and the value systems you can bring. So a lot of times at this point, there's pressure to fill out the right title and come up with a world-class tagline. You may not be able to do it. And what I would say to that is it's probably more important to learn the mechanics of the title and the tagline. Learn this. Learn that whatever you type here, this is a title, and this is a tagline. Whatever you type in these two fields, if I go ahead and save this and go look at it, now I go look at my page and recycle it. Okay, this is the title, this is the tagline. So now I'm learning, whatever I type in that first field gets this treatment. It gets this larger sans serif font in white with a thin, font, just regular font base. Down here, the tagline, whatever I type in the tagline field is going to be placed here. Smaller, still sans serif, but it's in bold, right? Also, I think this one wraps at least one line. It gets long enough, it'll wrap again. But a lot of times I'll take this and say, if you can't come up with a perfect title or a tagline, use this to come up with maybe a call to action or maybe a value statement to try and pinch a nerve on your visitor. An example could be like this. I could come in and I could say, maybe I could come in and say something like, call Scott for a free consultation today. And then another tagline example, something that Keller Williams has used forever that you can use yourself is because, whoa, that was a dyslexic moment, because your move matters. They've used this tagline forever and you're welcome to use it. You can drop it in if you don't have a tagline of your own. And this is kind of a good starting point to kind of use a call to action, right, and maybe a value statement. You can kind of play around with this for a minute. I'm going to go save this and see what it looks like on my page. I'm going to recycle the page. Here it comes. So now I'm starting to get control over this. Call Scott for a free consultation today because your move matters. It's starting to kind of look a little bit more professional, maintaining a little bit of ambiguity over the content. I'm not worried about it right now. I'm still putting some valuable things in here and telling people what to do. Call me today and I'm going to get my phone number in here in just a minute. You can flip these around. There's no rules here that say that you have to put it in this order. And in fact, I can already think of a way to improve on because your move matters. Check this out. What if I went in and said, how about if I flip these around? You ever been in this situation here? I cut that line, right? Now I got to get it down here. I want to reciprocate that. What would happen if I highlight that and then paste? I'm going to lose this bottom line, right? So watch this. It's a nice little trick. Left click and hold and drag it and then paste the other value in. It's an easy way to reciprocate text. So now maybe I can say this. Instead of because your move matters, how about play around with it, your next, occurred to me the other day, next move matters. Call Scott for a free consultation. Get it? Your next move, it's an entendre on your move matters, but then your next move that you take in your real estate actions matter. Save that. You can just play around with it. This is the sort of thing that you may put in something right now in class just to get things going, and you may not be happy with it, but then you wake up in the middle of the night 3 weeks from now and you got it. It just boom, it hits, because as your mind starts working on these sorts of things. So this may be something you change. If this is frustrating you, this would be a good example of getting on my calendar and let me talk through with you on a personal level, kind of some things that you can maybe put in. This is in the neighborhood of content and can be very specific to your business. So it's difficult to walk a whole class through and say, now everybody type this and everybody type that. It just doesn't work that way. But functionally, you know now how the title and the tagline work. Uploading a logo is an issue of compliance. We want to make sure that we have a GREC compliant broker logo uploaded here. And there's more than one place you can get your hands on the logo, but the place I like to share is at rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. If you open a browser and navigate to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, and then on my website, go to where the downloads are, and then click on Market Center Logos. You'll come to a list of all the Rawls Group logos. These are the official Market Center logos that are GREC compliant for the Rawls Group. And of course, Atlanta Perimeter is right there. If I click on that, it'll begin downloading. There it is. I just did a left click and it's downloading as a zip file. I'm going to let that download, and now I'm going to work with it. If you've never worked with a zip file, if you don't understand what a zip file is, basically it's just a collection of files so that I can do one download. In this case, there's like 24 versions of this logo that are zipped up in this folder. So rather than having to go click on each version of it, I just click on one link and it downloads the whole deal. The whole thing's in a payload, but I can't use it until I unzip. So I'm going to unzip this. If zip files are something you're not familiar with, don't let this bog you down either. Just watch what I do, get exposed to the process, and know that before you leave today, I'll make sure you have the right logo on your web page. If you are familiar with zip files, then get after it. Go ahead and unzip this file, which I'm going to do now. I like to show it in the folder. There it is. And there it is with my little zip logo. Can't do anything with it until it gets unzipped. In this case, I'm going to right click on it and choose extract all. And then I have a little dialog that comes up. I'm dragging it from my other monitor. Where do you want to extract it? I just want to put it in my downloads folder in a new folder called perimeter. You know what? I'll just put today's date on there. What is today's date?
May 30th.
Thank you. I guess I am in the right place. That's good. All right, I'm going to extract that, and it should put it in a folder called 53019. There it is. And so this is the contents of that zip file. And I'm going to make sense of this contents in just a minute. So now that I've unzipped it, as usual, watch this. I'm going to come into my upload folder right here where I can upload a file. And what I want you to do is don't try to follow along click by click what I'm going to do. Watch this example for a minute because I'm going to make a couple points. So here we go. I'm going to upload the file, and I'm going to navigate to the folder I just created, 247 perimeter 53019. This folder exists because the last time I was here, I did the same example, and I just didn't delete it when I got done. So there it is. That's from last time I was here. This is today's folder that I just unzipped. They do happen to be the same content, but we're going to work on that one. Here's the contents of that folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by working this example in the RGB folder. Red, green, blue, RGB. It means red, green, blue. It's just a fancy way of saying color, meaning the examples in here are colored. So I've got 3 candidate files. And if I hover over each file, I get a clue as to what they are. If I hover, it says the item type of this first file is a JPEG file. Okay? Talk about that in a second. If I hover over the second file, it says the item type is a PNG file. Third one, same thing. If I hover, it says item type is PNG file. What you need to know is the difference between PNG file and JPEG for this example is that the JPEG, this first one, features the content presented on a solid white background versus the PNG files, this middle one and the third one, are the content featured on a transparent background. This middle one here is red KW with black lettering on a transparent background. The second one, hard to see from the board up there, but if you're on your computer and you look close, you'll see it's a red KW with white lettering instead of the black lettering. White lettering on a transparent background. And here's the significance of those. Watch this. If I load up the JPEG, all right, load that up, and I got to make sure the display logo is checked so it'll show up on my website. Watch what happens. If I go load this on my page, this page is now stale. I'm going to recycle the page. You can see it. Should pick up the new image. There it is. What do y'all think about that? Be honest.
Doesn't look good.
It's pretty bad, right? The JPEG doesn't really play out at all. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could go in and I could change my theme, which I think sometimes people do. Say, show me a white background on my header, and save that and go look. Well, that's totally passable now, right? Because it happens to be that the white background matches the background of the header. But if I really want, let's say I just say, you know what, I really like this red. I want to use the red, or I really like the gray. Let's go use it and save it. Then I've got this issue here where I've got this ugly white rectangle. You'll see it. For heaven's sake, what did I do? Wrong checkbox. There we go. Now we should be in the problem again. All right, so how can we fix that?
Transparent.
Use a transparency. That's right. Use the transparent PNG. So I can go over here. Keeps holding me in that theme. Come down here to my site info. And instead of uploading the JPEG, we can go and upload PNG, which features a transparent background. And I'll go ahead and save that. Now I go look at it. Should be a big improvement on it. All right, so we got rid of that white rectangle. Of course, there's still problems with that. It's difficult to read, right, on a dark background. Practically lost Keller Williams. So that's where this third candidate comes in. This may work even better. Red KW with white lettering on a transparent background. That should make it pop. Should look pretty good. Recycle that. Looking a lot better, right? And of course, if I were to want the red background, theme selection, choose red. Let's say that that's what we wanted for our marketing. Now what will happen? If I recycle that, I've got a problem.
Looks like the KW.
Their KW is going to go away, right? Because it blends in. So that's where using, I hate that it makes me click all the way out and back in. There we go. That's where using this other folder instead of the RGB folder. There it is. If I come up a level to here, instead of using RGB, use black and white. Now I've got candidate files here, and I'll cut to the chase. First one's JPEG, these are PNGs, and the last one is a PNG that features a white KW with white lettering. Very hard to see from where you are, but take my word for it, that's going to look real sharp against the red. You can see it better there, so now you get a glimpse of how it's going to look. And if I save that and cycle it again, recycle that, should be pretty sharp.
What's PNG stand for?
I forget.
Yeah.
Portable
Yeah.
something graphic. I forget what the N stands for. So anyway, you can see where the KW now fits in. That looks way better, right? Even I like it with the red kitchen. Actually, it looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So for whatever reason, the JPEG version is what gets passed around the most. I see it around the office. People say, "Hey, you have a copy of the perimeter logo?" Yeah, I do. And they get the JPEG, and I end up seeing that on business cards, and I see it on bumper stickers or whatever. And it's a shame because it really looks ugly, you know. And I hate to tell people like, "Oh, that's 1,000 ugly business cards." You don't want to really say it, but so I think the PNG file is so valuable, and that's why I share the link up here, because next time you're doing a project, somebody says, "Hey, do you have maybe a vendor says you have the office logo?" You know, that's what these links are right here, Atlanta Perimeter. If you copy that link, put it in an email, then they'll have the download for this, or you can just send it to this page, and then they can unzip it and they can find the right version that works for the project. You know, there's TIFF files if you want to do billboards for, you know, bus stop advertising or billboard advertising. There's CMYK images in there, JPEGs in there, PNGs, and so all different types of applications, instead of just passing around the JPEG, which works on a white letterhead or a white banner, and that's it, you know. So anyway, that's the advantage of using the link at Rawls Group Help Desk to get your image in there. I'm going to leave that one in there. I think it looks pretty sharp, and we're going to move on. So I've got my site title and tagline. I've got a GRET compliant image for my logo. I have the option of adding a favicon. If you're not familiar with favicon, it's up at the very top. Here's examples of favicons. It's these little images that are embedded here in the tabs. Like, for example, here's my Pixabay page. Their green logo with the P is there. Favicon. If I'm over here at Rawls Group Help Desk, I've got this black square with a blurry RGHD. It didn't come out as well as I wished, but that's what it is. If I go to KW, it's a red square with a white KW. If I go to Affordable Georgia Cabins, it's a white square with a red KW, which, by the way, is a custom favicon that I created because I didn't care for this red with the white KW. I thought this looked way better. And so I took some time and I created this favicon, and it's available if you go to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com and do a search up here at the search tool. You can go in and type the word favicon, Favicon, and hit enter. And this first link is a link to a knowledge base article that really never got published anywhere. I was just working on it and it never became anything. There's an example of Safari, how it does favicon. Here's the image right here. If you right click on it and choose save image, you'll have a copy of it. I say right click on it because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when I made this page, and for some reason I zipped up a single file. So if you just left click on it, it downloads as a zip file, and you gotta unzip it and all that mess. So I need to fix it, and I never have. But if you just right click and choose save image as, you can directly grab the image. You don't have to fool with the zip. But once you have this has been properly set in terms of ratio aspect so that it doesn't stretch or get skewed up in here and it looks clean. I had to make about 5 versions of this before it would work. So I finally got it working, and I said, I'm definitely going to share that with the world. So I'm going to upload my favicon for KW, get that in there. Let's see, downloads. And there it is right there. Interesting fact I learned in an SEO class I was in. Part of what I told you earlier today is when Google's crawling a page, it looks for incomplete pages, broken links, malformed code. And I used to think there was really no significance to a favicon until in this class they mentioned lacking a favicon is considered an incomplete aspect to your website. So by simply adding a favicon, whether it's the KW one I just created or some other image, it completes that portion and actually scores you higher in relevance. It's not going to make or break your SEO initiative, but hey, it's low-bearing fruit. You might as well grab it, right? So you can put any image in there you want. One day I accidentally uploaded my headshot. I wasn't paying attention. My headshot went in there, and sure enough, it just shrunk real little, and it just fitted up there, and you can kind of make my beard out and my gray hair. I was like, it's kind of interesting, yeah. So favicon is optional. There's one you can use if you want to. Let's go on to contact details. Now, for contact details, there is some compliance issues we're going to work on. For now, I want you to just fill it out with your name. State your name. No, I'm just kidding. You know that joke. Title, you can leave blank. In fact, I recommend you leave title blank. It's intuitive to say, let me put realtor in there, CEO, something like that, but don't. I would recommend leaving it blank for now. For email, put the best email for you to be contacted by consumers. So for me, I'm putting shardy@kw.com. And then for phone number, same thing. Put your best phone number. For me, I'm putting in my cell phone. If your cell phone is your best method for people to reach you, drop it in. This is your contact information, so you can put your cell phone number if you want, or if you'd rather your office number, you can do that. The sentence that says display license number, I recommend you leave it blank. And then for photo, if you brought a photo or have it available, I have one right there. I'll go ahead and put my dapper self right in there. You can go ahead and upload your photo. This will be your headshot for the page. And if you've gotten that far, move on down to office details, and we're going to put in, I may need your help here for those of you that have been around for a while. Let's see, office name is going to be, for this you can put Keller Williams. Then you can either put realty or not. I like to do without realty. Perimeter, Atlanta perimeter, excuse me.
Right.
Just testing y'all, perimeter. All right, Keller Williams Atlanta perimeter is one option. Keller Williams Realty Atlanta perimeter is another option. I like to match it to whatever the logo says. And you can't see it closely there, but if you look, the logo is Keller Williams Atlanta perimeter. So I usually keep those the same. Whatever the logo says is usually what I'll put in for the office name. But it is your option. You can put whatever you want, whether it's realty or not. Office website, leave it blank. Office phone, however, you do need to put the official broker number. Michael, do you know that off the top of your head?
678-298-1600.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I recognize it when I see it, but I don't always remember it. That is the phone number you want to put in. Office email, leave it blank. And then address, 115 Perimeter Center Suite, what, 100?
Yes.
100, Atlanta, Georgia, 30308.
30346.
Oh, is it 30346? Thank you. You've passed all my tests today. This is
That could be completely wrong.
No, come on now. Don't be, usually what I do is go over here to Rawls Group Help Desk and come down to the bottom.
It could be an 8.
Atlanta perimeter. If you're not 100% certain, you know, I don't want to go to jail here. I want to make sure we get this right. 30 Realtor deal.
That's
30346. There it is. Okay. Michael, you and I, we're unstoppable. This is
All
great.
right.
All right. Site header, leave these two blank. when you've gotten this far, stop what you've done, right? So put your office information in exactly as I have it, with the exception of the office name. You can vary between realty or not. And then for your name. Now I'm going to go ahead and save mine. I want to show you the problem. I purposely staged it so this makes sense for you why it's important. So I saved that. The system's being goofy and making me come around. Now I'm going to recycle the page. And there is a compliance issue. The GREC rule, you can see my name showed up, my photo, my phone number. The GREC rule is this, is anytime you advertise listings, then your name can't be more prominent than the broker's, right? Y'all probably heard that probably more than once. And so, of course, we have inventory. We got our listings there. And if we count up how many times we have my name and the broker's name, we'll see the broker's name is here once, Atlanta Perimeter, one time for KW, one time for Scott. This doesn't count. This is just a sentence about me, right? This isn't my contact info, so they would look over this. That's fine. Call Scott. But that's my contact, clearly contact information. So there, 1 and 1, come down. The way these templates work, it drops my information here again. So 2 for me, 1 for Quapp. Here's my name again. 3 for me. And then here's Atlanta Perimeter, 2 for Atlanta Perimeter. And then this doesn't count for us, for our broker. Excuse me, that's the nationwide, national brand, right? That's not the broker's logo or broker's name. So that doesn't do us any good that it's there. So we counted up, it was my name, what, 3 times to KWAP's name 2 times. And that is a liability right there. We know it's valid because agents are getting fined for this setup the way I have it. It's a $500 fine. Other people call in and say, hey, Scott Spiders or Michael Side is not compliant, and then Greg looks at it and goes, no, it's not. And they send you a nasty little thing, you know. One of the things that's interesting, Craig Coffey, the commissioner, came in and he talked about, you know, kind of what happens when complaints come in, and one of the things he explained was they just want a very clear understanding for consumers of who to contact if they're not happy with the agent. And so they want the broker's name to be prominent so that the consumer's not going straight to the commission anytime they have an issue. It's a can of worms. They were saying whenever you get a complaint to Greg, they don't look at the one little thing that somebody's complaining about. They open the books on you. They go through everything. And so a lot of times the complaint is not the only violation. It's other things that may come across. And then, you know, it's just a huge challenge for that. So the idea is they want the broker's name to be prominent so the consumer knows that it's, you know, if I'm not happy with Scott's performance, I'm going to call the broker. And then if I'm not happy with the broker's performance, then Greg may become an option. But anyway, to get this compliant, because my name shows up less than the, my name shows up more than the broker's name, we talked about it in a meeting and said, you know, what can we do to satisfy the requirement? And we said, you know what if we did this? What if we changed my name to Scott Hardy with Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter? And that way, everywhere it shows my name, it has a broker's name. We agreed, yes, that would be compliant, but we also agreed that would be pretty ugly on the website. You get this long string of text stamped everywhere you put my name. It's crazy. And this is one of my favorite tips. I love this. We found out that the fields themselves are not just clear text fields, but they will accept small HTML commands. So you can put an HTML command in here instead of where I have the word with. If I put an open or a greater than symbol followed by BR and a less than symbol, and let me show you that close up so you can see the answer. There you go. If I write it in this fashion right here, here's my answer. What that does is that BR command says anything after the initial string of text gets a break return, it's an old typewriter term, and goes to the next line. So what that means is when it writes my name on the website, it's going to hit the BR command. It's going to take everything else. All this is going to get tucked underneath my name, nice and neat. And what's interesting about HTML is the website never produces the HTML command in visibility of the web visitor. So even though it's clearly in the field, the visitor is not going to see the command. So if you get it in like that, your name, open caret, BR, close caret, the broker's name, it'll solve this issue in a pleasing way. So now that I've got that, and if you've got that, I'm going to go ahead and save it. You can go ahead and save yours. Just save you a couple trips going back and forth. And now if we go look at it, recycle the page, we should see an improvement. So now It should be my name in the top right corner with Keller Williams, there you go, Keller Williams Atlanta perimeter tucked underneath. See how that worked? And everywhere it stamps my name, with contact information, it's going to put it. So now I've got broker name once, the logo counts. My name once, broker name twice. My name twice, broker name 3 times. My name, what am I at? 1, 2, 3 times, there we are. Broker name 4 and broker name 5. That's the math. Becomes 5 to 3. So now the broker's name is written 5 times out, and that has solved that issue. So it doesn't get you can go spend your money somewhere else, I guess you could say. Right? You can tell people, I went to Scott's class and he saved me $500. Anyhow, it's a big deal, right? We don't want you to get a fine. So that gets the page solved. Let's move on. Any questions about that before I move on? Just want to make sure we're on the same page. All right. So now that I've saved that, that's as far as we're going to go on site info. We're going to continue. Look at my page. It's just sick. Look at that. It's just now I'm missing parts of my web page. Let me recycle it. Look at that. Areas is grayed out. All this stuff it just quit working. I think we get to go home now. Hang on.
Ours looks the same.
You know what? I noticed that it's been buggy. I've even made a few comments today, and I think what's going on is Placester doing an update or something. Let me try to come all the way back into it. Feels like they may be updating something. All right, folks. Well, dadgummit. Let me clear my browser. Follow my own advice here. So we'll go to history. When I clear my browser in Chrome, by the way, I like to go up to the 3 dots and I'll go to history, and then I'll go to up here where it says history again. Then I can clear my browsing data, and I'll say clear of all time. Cookies and site data is what we need. Cached images is not that important. But I'm going to go ahead and clear the data. And then this is what's important. A lot of times people say, okay, cool, I'm done. They click the X. But what I recommend is you go ahead and click the 3 dots again and do a complete exit of Chrome. Get out of it altogether. And then come back in.
Doesn't even make this here.
Now I'm going to try and log in again and see if this page works. Let's see. Websites. Go to my website. So far, so good. Let's see. Edit site. Hey, I'm back in business. I don't know if it's because I logged out and logged back in of Placester, but is anybody else getting in, or y'all still out? Still having trouble? Did you get? Are you good?
We never got in. It said it can take up to 48 hours.
Oh, y'all never got in.
Yeah.
Y'all just been muscling through this thing.
Well, I mean, I'm taking notes, and I do well with what I see, so I'll
Yeah.
remember it when I go do it myself,
Wow.
and I figure I'll do a follow-up tech
Well,
call.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course.
That's tough to watch something for 3 hours. So I really appreciate you being here. Ladies, are y'all in there and good, or
No, mine's still on the.
is it missing the pieces? Why don't y'all try clearing the browser the way I did? Hit the 3 dots at the top and clear your history. Any luck, Paige? You
Yeah, we
good?
got back in.
You're back in. Chris?
How you
Okay.
clear it again? Control H. No.
No, I did the 3. Are you in Chrome?
Yes.
So go to history here.
Yeah, mine never worked there. I took notes if I went for the compliance. That was the most important part.
I know that exactly. I was like, that just made this whole thing. I was
You don't have to clear this. You need cookies and
Yeah,
cash.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
There you go. You can clear that. Change. That's all right. The last hour should be enough.
Yeah. That's
And then
all.
close out of the browser when you're done.
Okay.
Because I still want to know.
How's it
I'm
going?
doing clear data. I'm doing that too.
Browsing history you can uncheck. Browsing history. And then now clear data.
Let's see. I can get in. The rest of this stuff is just easy peasy, y'all. This is going to be pretty straightforward. So we left off working in site info here. And remember, I'd asked to just move down for a minute. We're going to come back up where we left off, which brings us to certifications. Even if you're not back in the system yet, you can just watch this part while you're still getting back in. It's easy. Certifications is a gallery of certifications that we can choose from. There we go. And the key here is to turn it on. There's a link right here. It says checkbox to show certifications on my website. Once you do that, you can browse through the available certifications. If you own one of these certifications, you can go ahead and select it. You can do a maximum of 6 from the gallery. If you don't see your certification, unfortunately, there's not a way to add it in there. You just have to work with what we see. And most people would agree that everybody can hit the equal housing opportunity. It would be a certification to add, as well as the NAR. Wait, NRA? No, NAR. What did I say? Did I say it backwards?
You got it
Right,
right.
NAR. Okay. Sometimes I'll go NRA and people are like, "What class are you teaching? National Rifle Association?" Anyway. So those two everybody should have. If you see another one that's yours, go ahead and select it. When you're satisfied, hit save. And then what that'll do is it'll position them at the bottom of your page. So if I go preview my site, scroll down, there we have Equal Housing and National Association of Realtors is now showing at the bottom there. Not a huge deal, but it does add some credibility to your website, right? So we might as well nail it. Certifications. Next is social networks. And this allows us to get control over the social media badges that were on the top and bottom of my page. Remember that my social media badges go to KW's social media pages. The simple reason for that is because my social media pages they weren't business ready. They were camping and dirt bikes and gardening and things like that that didn't really fit business, And so I think a lot of people feel that way. I talk to a lot of folks who say, "Oh, I'm not ready to put my social media up there. It's, I got the Dunwoody pub crawl on my Facebook page. Maybe I don't want to do that. I don't know. I'm just kidding." But, you're just not ready. And so what I found is that by adding the KW corporate pages, it's really safe content. I'll show you that in a second. Until you're ready to put your own personal stuff up there. The technique I'm going to show you applies whether you're adding KW's Facebook page or your own Facebook page. The key is this. You've got to fill this blank out right here. The system knows that a Facebook profile contains the phrase facebook.com and a slash. And what they're trying to get you to do is put the parts that trail after the slash. So it just boils down to visiting the profile that you want to use. If you're going to do KW, I found it was really easy to just go to KW. I'm not telling you to do KW, it's just what I did. And I'll show you. I went to KW.com and I scrolled down and found their social media badges down here. Right? And I clicked on their Facebook and I just looked at it. There it is, facebook.com/, and the system's asking for the trailing piece after the slash, Keller Williams Realty. And that became the answer that I supplied in this field, which is what lit up the Facebook badge on my website and linked it to Keller Williams when you click on it. And what made me feel good about it is if you look at it, there's nothing about lead capture. There's no listings or inventory or sales. It's all about the culture of the company. So it's safe content. I'm okay with my consumer sees this. In fact, I feel better about my consumer seeing this for now than I do my own profile. But if you wanted to show your own profile, go visit your profile and take a look at the link that shows up at this top area when you visit yourself on Facebook. Capture the parts that after facebook.com and slash. Same thing with Twitter, right? Twitter.com/. If I went in, I know I can remember my own Twitter, so twitter.com S Hardy. Any reason to show off my dirt bike? There it is. I just sold it this year. Can't believe it. Close that chapter of my life. It's over. But I digress. Here's my Twitter page. If I wanted to see KW's Twitter page, their Twitter page comes up. All right. There's mine, twitter.com/S Hardy. Here's KW's, twitter.com/KWRI. So just pick what you want to use, right? I want to put KW's in there, so I'm not going to write twitter.com in this field. I'm just going to supply the trailing pieces after .com/. And I'm just going to keep on going. LinkedIn. Don't be thrown off by the fact with LinkedIn, the trailing pieces contain a slash, right? Here's the string of text, company / Keller Williams Realty Inc. What's that?
It's YouTube.
I was going to say. Oh, that's the new consumer app video. It starts with that big old horn. That's funny.
I didn't even catch that thing.
Yeah. That's their new
I need to try
video.
that.
All right, so yes, it has a slash in there. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just capture the whole thing. Copy that and go drop it in. Your LinkedIn's a little bit different in the fact that there's something to do with the vintage of your LinkedIn profile. If it's an older profile, is it older or newer? I can't remember. It was one end of the equation. It's either if it's an older one, it may not fit. Even if you put in everything after the slash, you may drop it in, and when you go visit the button, it may not pull up your LinkedIn profile. Some profiles, just for whatever reason, don't respond well to this little tool. If that happens to you, let me know. There's a technique where you go into your profile and there's a feature called vanity URL or custom URL that you can change your profile over, and instead of being a long string of text, you can shorten it, and then it'll work in these types of situations. So you just try it at first. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then you may need to modify the URL. I can help you do that. And if we have a room full of people with the same problem, I may be able to show that to you if we get somebody logged into LinkedIn. YouTube. Watch, mine's going to go off now too. It's going to do the horn, watch, I'm sure. No? I kind of wanted it to do it. That's why I didn't do it. YouTube.com. This one is /user/ Keller Williams, so that's fine. I can grab that. Copy that. Go paste it in here. YouTube. I need to pay attention. Watch this. I see a mistake. Do you see the mistake? If you look at that closely, there is a mistake just now. I made it there. Look at it closely.
Another slide.
Yeah.
Forward slide.
That right there is enough to break the whole process, right? So I want to make sure I get that extra slash. I just accidentally copied it. Really wasn't on purpose at all, but I saw it, so I made a point. Get that cleaned up.
Is that a forward slash?
It is a /. Yep. So, same principle for all these social media channels. If you leave one blank, that badge simply doesn't show up on the web page. So if you supply an answer, the badge lights up. If there's no answer, the badge isn't on the page. Once you get that tuned up the way you want to, hit save, and you can move on down here from social networks. We're not going to do anything in the search form today. Nothing for us to do. We'll get into menu. This will be our last topic here, and we're going to break. So the menu configuration, this allows us to get control, clean up all these extra tabs, of this area right here where mine says about, properties, areas, blogs, testimonies, and contact. When you click on the menu, it opens up what I think of as a map of our menu: about, properties, areas, blog, testimonials, contact. Lines right up with what I see across here. And the first thing I would tell you about the menu is that you can relabel menu buttons. For example, if I click on About, it takes me to a basic page that was pre-written. We're not going to get into this content today, but you can modify this. You can write your own blog page, or your own bio. But About leads me here. Properties, if I click on it, it leads me to an advanced property search tool. I can relabel these buttons. Here's my About, here's my Properties, right? Watch this. If I click on About, it opens up and it reveals the label. The label is simply the button face. So if I wanted to make that more personable, instead of saying About, maybe I could come in and say About Scott. And we'll see what that looks like in just a second. About Scott. Properties. Open it up, the label's properties. If I want to make that a little bit more engaging, maybe I go big and say, you know what, how about instead of properties, how about I do it a call to action? Find your next home today. I'm going to go ahead and lock those choices in, save it down here. Now let's go look at the web page. This page is now stale because I've made changes in the back end, so I'm going to have to recycle it. pay attention to the first two buttons, About and Property should pick up new labels. There they are. About Scott still goes to the About page. It knows how that functions. And Find Your Next Home Today still goes to the Advanced Property Search. But the labels have added a little bit more color to, I think, the navigation. So that's the first example of change, is being able to relabel buttons. You can relabel them as many times as you want to as things occur to you. In addition to relabeling buttons, you can reorganize buttons. Maybe I want About Scott to be over here between Testimonies and Contact. If that's the case, I can come back into my menu. Here's About. It's really About Scott. But there it is. The name of the button is About. The label is simply About Scott. Notice my mouse changes. Here it's an arrow, but now it turns into a directional arrow and directional. That means that if I left click and hold, I can move the object. So watch this. If I want it to be About to be between Testimonies and Contact, I can literally just drag it. I'm going to get the directional. Now I've got it. I'm going to left click, and I'm going to hold the left click and drag while holding it. And notice the placeholder starts to show up, telling me where, if I let go of that left mouse button, where that button's going to end up. And here, it's between Blog and Testimonials. Here, if I drop it, it's going to become a submenu of Testimonials. If I keep going, keep on going, a little bit more. Oh, come up. There it is. It's created a spot between Testimonies and Contact, which is really what I want. I'm going to let go of that, and now About has been relocated. So I can recycle the page, and About Scott should now jump over between Testimonials and Contact. There it is, About Scott.
So how do you get the testimonials tab?
Testimonials tab was built in when I launched my template today. What's interesting is when they create your profile as a new agent, you get a certain class of Placester profiles, like the bare bones default. And I don't think it has testimonials in it. But if you launch a new site, which is what I did before class, so I could demo a blank slate, it goes to a series of questions, and it asks me, do I want the basic menu or do I want the advanced menu? I chose the advanced, and it added the testimonials link in there. I got this. And actually what I was going to do is I do that on purpose because I actually show you how to remove these, and I just wanted content to remove. But if you want the testimonials in there, let me get through this, and I'll show you at the end. We'll add your testimonials as a button in just a minute. So I've showed you can reorganize. About Scott's moved. You can relabel. You can also remove things. So if I go into, let's say like area, I haven't built area pages. We haven't even talked about area pages. Let's say I just want to remove it for now until I learn about that. Because if I click on it now, it's just a little demo of area pages. I don't want to get into that for time's sake. It's a super important part of the website, but it's just a conversation for another time. So let's say I want to dump that out of my menu, right? And let's say I don't want the blog either. I don't want that. Maybe what I can do is I can go in and I could go into menu and I can find my areas page and just remove it. And that removes area page, and then there's blog, remove it. Now it's important to understand what's happening is I'm simply removing it from the menu. There's still 4 blog posts on the website, and the blogs are still in the blog area. And if we remove the testimonies don't get deleted. We're just taking it off the menu, that's it, right? So now I'm just reducing what's on my menu. I'm gonna say save. By the way, blogs, testimonials right there. If you wanna manipulate the blogs and testimonials after class, that's where you get to them right there. I mentioned that I would show it to you. So anyway, here we are back at, let's look at the results here. If I come up to my web page, recycle it, I should now see areas and blogs should disappear. Cool. Blogs are still there. Look at that. The page actually exists. I won't be able to get to it from the navigation now because of what I've done to it. Another thing is I like to have a home page in the beginning of the menu. It turns out the logo serves as a home page, but that's not intuitive. If I click on that, it brings me back to my landing page or home page, but it may take consumers a minute to figure that out. So I like to add a home page in here just to complete the navigation. So here's how you can add a home page. If I go to back to my control panel and go into menu, I can use this add tool. Before I hit add though, you need to look at the options of what you're adding. These are all the available things to add to the toolbar. As it turns out, a home page button happens to be the default selection. So in this example, I'm good to just go ahead and hit add. And what that does is it creates this home page button which loads the landing page. Of course, if I save it here, look where it's going to place it. Oh, way over here. That's not what I want, right? No big deal. We know how to move it. So I'll go to menu. And, you know, I wouldn't do this in multiple moves. I would have done this right away. But just for example's sake, there we go. Get it where I want it. Save that. All right. Recycle the page. And I think that feels right to have a home page in the very beginning. I just love it. You know, Rawls Group Help Desk has a home page right at the beginning too. So anyway, here we are with these new buttons. Let's add some content real quick and we're gonna break. Want to add a button for your mobile app, for downloading your mobile app. So we're gonna add a button, here we go. I'm gonna go into my menu. And unlike adding a home page, which is the first option, I certainly gonna have to click on this area before I do the add button. I'm gonna have to find the appropriate element here, or the appropriate object. And what we're doing is adding an external link to our mobile app. So the actual correct answer is going to be custom URL. You may see some of these options that I have, you may not. Ours may be different. Don't worry about it. This is just if you create custom pages and as you build the page, build the website, different objects will show up in here. But right now, we're just going to focus on adding an external link or a custom URL. So load up custom URL and then click add. And what that does is it creates the button, yet it needs a label, a URL, and then the tooltip is optional. So a label, remember the label is the button face. So if we're adding a button that when you press it downloads the mobile app, then the label needs to be representative of that action. So something as simple as mobile app, mobile property search, free mobile download is good. Free mobile app. You can put all kinds of stuff in there. Think about this though. What you're doing is you're staging it so that when somebody says, hey, when you say, hey, I'd like to give you my app, and they go, okay, how do you get it? Well, go to affordablegeorgiacabinets.com and click on, well, that would be, you think about that free labeling. Do you want to say, click on Scott's amazing free mobile app? Do you want to say that every time? Or do you want to say, go to my website and click on download mobile app? You know. You can think of it like that. You can always relabel it if it dawns on you that you've got kind of the wrong label in there the first time. So get yourself a label in there. And then we got to put a URL in. The URL is the link that downloads your app. So think about this for a minute. The app, we talked about this, the app is IDX based, meaning it takes the listing agent contact info out of the search results and it puts your contact info in. So how in the world does the system know that 190,000 agents with the same app, how does it know your app from my app or from Michael's app or from your app? It knows it because everybody's been given a serial number, and we use that serial number, they mix it in with a download link. So you got to figure out what your serial number is in order to know the appropriate download link. I have an easy tool that you can use to figure out your serial number. Here it is. If you navigate back to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, and if you go to where it says downloads, and then the last option is mobile, what is it called? I can't remember. Mobile agent code URL. If you click on that button, the system will figure out your mobile app link and serial number. This is mine right here. There's my agent code. They call it a code. I call it a serial number. And look, here's my URL. Everybody's URL looks the same. http://app.kw.com/. But then notice my code is incorporated here in the link. And that's how the system knows when the consumer clicks that link, oh, that's Scott Hardy's app, not Michael Martino's. So you got to figure this out. So copy the link. And if you want to test that my little trick worked, my little HTML worked, to find you can paste that link and just go visit the link and double check and make sure when the page comes up, that you see your branding information. There's mine in the middle, Scott Hardy. So you can't download the app from this page. The app only works on a mobile device, works on a phone, or works on a tablet, right? So if you try to download on a computer, you get this big old page asking you to put a cell phone number in because the system knows it has to be a mobile device. But it does serve as a quick and easy way to confirm, okay, yeah, it's my name in there, so it's correct. Now, had I visited this same exact link up here on a mobile device, this page wouldn't have come up. It would have begun the download process, right? So for Android or for Mac. So now I've got my URL. I'm going to come in and I'm going to answer my URL question here, URL. Tooltip is optional. You don't have to put a tooltip in, but I do like to I will show you an example. Tooltip is when your mouse hovers over the button before you click it, a piece of information pops up to tell you what's kind of going on. So I'm going to say, be sure to use your mobile phone, your smartphone, even better, to download this app. Now, you don't have to put it in. I don't really like the way they look, but if you're going to put one in, make it appropriate, and that's fairly appropriate there. Because it really helps the process, right? So you don't misunderstand what happens if you click on that from your computer. So I'm going to recycle the page. We should get a new button that shows up. It'll be right there. And if I click on it, it should take me to my mobile app download, which it does. If I hover over it, it should, yep, there's my tooltip that pops up. And I am looking to make sure my name is in there. So yeah, I feel really good that that's going to work on a mobile device that visits my website. All right, last example here. We're going to add one more button. This time it's going to be this month in real estate. And then we're going to clear our books and take a test. That sound good? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we're going to add, before I hit the add button, I'm going to, again, use a custom URL. We're going to add. Got my same situation, label, URL, and tooltip. So the label, if this is a button you click on that shows a video called This Month in Real Estate, then I've got to make a button that's kind of relative to that. And that's tricky because This Month in Real Estate is a long button name. The answer that I like the best, that people suggested, is video update. I'll just cut to the chase for time. I love this name because people love the word video and the word update, and Google loves the word video and update. So it kind of builds a little bit of curiosity like what's going on. So you can put video update in there if you want to. You can put real estate video update, monthly update, whatever you want. I'm going to go with video update, and now I'm going to put a URL in for this video. The URL is at rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. If you go to where it says search at the top, I'll give you a code you can put in to get the link. So the code for This Month in Real Estate link is TMIRE. Stands for This Month in Real Estate. It's easy, right? This Month in Real Estate. Click on it and you get one hit link for TMIRE for This Month in Real Estate. And again, this is just a knowledge base article that started, it never really got published. But what I like about it is I created this big link right here that you can easily click on and copy because I deadened it so when you click on it, nothing happens. That way you can easily copy it. Don't you hate it when you copy a link and you end up visiting the link? So you can just double click on that if you want to, or whatever the case is. And we're not using individual links. This is going to be a standardized link. We're all using the exact same link for our answer in the URL field. I'll paste that. Tooltip is optional. Your call if you put it in there or not. Save it, come back and reload the page. There you go, video update. If I click on it, it should start our video in full page embed mode. That's one other characteristic of the link. There you go. All right, everybody, it is 4:03, and I'm happy to tell you I've showed you everything that I intended to show you. We skipped nothing. We started on time. We ended on time for the most part. And that makes me feel wonderful. Thank you for your attention, especially those that are watching. I know that's not easy to just watch, but I hope y'all have gained some understanding and knowledge of your website. I hope you built your website some. I've got an hour. If you got it, if you're working on your stuff, I'll be hanging out here. If you got a question that was relative to what we talked about or something we didn't talk about, I'm open. So I'm at your service. Want to take a break? Don't worry. I'll be here when you come back. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank y'all for being here today.
So that last video, is that under site info?
It's under menu. You're gonna plant it under menu.
Oh,
You're gonna add a button. For those of you watching on Facebook, thank you as well. I'm gonna dismiss you with the click of a button. Bye-bye.
All right, custom